Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. We're really happy to have you here. Hopefully you had an awesome weekend. I know mine was busy. I worked all weekend, which is not odd for me. Nevertheless, I do love that the fact that our colors now are I say go 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 and Thunder is stop with his red.
That's right.
It's
That's
perfect. Yeah,
Yep.
as it should
Perfect.
be. Yeah, as it should
Perfect
be.
synchronicity. I love it. I love it.
Well, I'm the little devil in the ear, and you're the guy who says we need to be reasonable and be good
That's right.
people. Yeah, that's you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's definitely me.
yeah,
100%.
100%. But anyway, please go over, hit the like, share button, and let everybody know what's going on, so they come join us. I will do that myself, and whilst I do that, Thundero is going to enlighten us on the miracles of his weekend.
The miracles of my weekend were it
Hmm.
sucked horribly.
Ooh.
I don't know what, if it was just a really nasty kinked muscle in my neck, or if
Those
I have
weekends.
some kind of
Yeah,
arthritic thing going
yeah,
on,
yeah.
but I just could not move without being in pain. It's
Hmm.
still a little bit there underneath my right shoulder blade. Uh, just wasn't a good time, pretty much at all. And of course, it's my birthday weekend because tomorrow's my birthday. And yeah, that was a fun weekend. I got to do basically nothing because I couldn't move for most of the weekend. It was brutal.
Yeah, you slept on it and pinched the sciatica.
Hmm.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
No fun.
No, I suppose not. Well, I'm sitting here waiting to see if that'll work, and it's decided that it's not going to do what it's supposed to do. That's fine. I'm sure it worked anyway, so I'll just leave it like that. It's on Facebook. Facebook's dead anyhow, right? How long do you think Facebook will survive in this modern world?
Ooh, that is a tough question to answer because it really just depends on how much Zuckerberg gives a crap.
Well, he's been
And
fired, hasn't he?
well, yeah, but I mean, he's still the majority shareholder, from
Oh,
my
I'm sure.
understanding.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Um, so it really just depends on the people at the top and what they want to do with it. Because I mean, I've said for years, whether it's a conspiracy theory or not, the only reason Facebook beat MySpace is one because Tom didn't want to fight, and two, uh, the government helped them.
Yeah,
They
that's true.
had lots of money coming in with government contracts and things
Hmm.
that they didn't have to disclose for various reasons, and that's why they overtook them.
Well,
So I honestly think the social media craze, as it has been, is a fad largely. And
mhm.
I think we're already starting to see that. Like Twitter and Twitter might adapt with Musk at the helm. We'll see.
Oh,
But
they're gaining
Facebook is just
new members daily.
old people use Facebook.
Mm.
Like people like family people, older people,
Like
that,
me.
then a whole lot of dead people are on Facebook. Whole
Yeah,
lot of them.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
Well, this is an important little injection here. One of the reasons I think Facebook has even survived until today is I know this is going to be a weird correlation, but give me a second. Is the stubbornness of Apple, right?
yeah.
Because under Jobs and now under the new gayer Jobs, the they have this principle that we are artists and we don't care what you want. You're going to do what we say, or you're not going to use our stuff. That's their thinking. And the world's like, okay. So, they win. But nevertheless, they've been really stubborn about RTS, right? And they're like,
Mhm.
no, we're not going to do it. You have to use our messaging. No, even though Microsoft is like, dude, the rest of the world is using the same thing to communicate. You're not doing it. But you have such a huge stakeholder. You're causing problems. No, we are artists. And of course, they just in their new line that just came out from Apple, what did they do? Well, RTS is now, standard. They gave
Yeah.
in. But that whole time, the problem with if you have a group of friends, right, and you want to easily and quickly communicate, if you're using an Apple device, which are a lot of people, and you're a person who's using a non-Apple device, you can't communicate very easily, right? Because of,
Mhm.
with just conveniently. And one of the easy ways, you go find some little app like Signal or something like that that'll allow you all to communicate. Discord, of course, is another good one that we use. But one of the easy things to do is just use Facebook. Everyone go on Facebook, and then we can do little live chats. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy solution. And a lot of people were doing that. Now, especially with all the chaos going in Silicon Valley and Apple finally relenting on something. I mean, and I don't understand why the fuck did they relent on RTS and not like say, HTML or more appropriately Acrobat, right? Flash.
Right.
Why? Why? I don't know why. Because I would have much rather them given in on Flash, right? Acrobat stuff. But
Hmm.
well, whatever. But now that that's gone, I don't know. Is there any life left in Facebook? You see what I mean?
Well, they've tried to shift over to this meta nonsense, and they all these companies and all these big, really rich, powerful people are insistent that the metaverse is the future. That the first one to get the metaverse right
Really
is
not.
gonna win the world. Uh, yeah, no, I don't think
We
so.
already got it right, and it's called Lord of the Rings Online.
I just don't think it's gonna happen. Maybe if Elon can get his brain link thing to where it can be very, very, very like really pull you in and it really feels like you're there. But VR, it's not fun, man. It's fun for a little while, but then you're done with it.
Right.
You're just done with it. Like it's I don't know. I don't know too many people who religiously use VR. I don't think
Yeah,
those people are
it's like
really out there.
3D.
If
It
they are,
never
they're
works. It
super
just
niche.
it
Yeah.
just isn't working. It just doesn't work. No, I understand the point, but I think we're seeing a lot of push in the tech, Silicon Valley, particularly into connectivity. And what I mean by that is being all these different devices and apps and everything being able to communicate with each other and make things seamless. And therefore, it
Yep.
doesn't matter what you own; you can all kind of communicate to the same thing. And this is ultimately why Apple caved to Elon Musk. Elon had to go over and kind of have a sit down and say, "Okay, silly boy," and tell him what he needed to do,
Yep.
because that would have absolutely obliterated Apple. To
I know a lot of people don't like Elon. Like it's there's differing reasons to dislike Elon Musk, and that's fine. Nobody has to like anybody. But I just the people who say he's stupid,
Oh, that's ridiculous.
that's
What are
just
you doing?
nonsense.
It's like calling
Like
Donald Trump stupid. It's like what?
that's just utter nonsense. This
Yeah.
guy goes all over the world. He talks to everybody at all levels of the world because he is allegedly the richest man in the world. I don't think so, but one
Oh,
that
he's
they tell
definitely
us about
not.
anyway.
But the public
Uh,
one, yeah.
But regardless, so he goes all over the world. He just went and talked to Emmanuel Macron in France to try and chill the French out and chill out the EU people because they're saying that we're gonna ban the Twitter app unless he censors the way we want. Uh, which it's interesting that he went to France to have that conversation because it was the French who were pushing back against the Americans for banning Trump. You
He
remember?
he
They're
just
like,
wanted
whoa,
he
whoa,
wanted a
that's
croissant, you know.
yeah, that's a little. Maybe we shouldn't go that far, guys. Um, but regardless, I don't think I'm very suspect of people's motives when they say things like Elon Musk doesn't know what he's doing. When
No.
he has repeatedly, I actually listened to him talk in one of those Twitter Spaces, which if they could get that working would be pretty cool. I mean, it works, but it's kind of eh. If they could get that really streamlined and a nice user interface, the Twitter Space thing would be basically a replacement for radio, genuinely.
It could be.
Um,
And he's going that. He's
so
he's banging at Google's YouTube.
yeah,
He
yeah,
ain't playing.
good. Somebody
Um
needs to. Christ.
yeah, no,
But
it's
my
true.
point is I listened to him talk for a little while, a couple hours. He was in there answering questions with different people, and no, that man's not stupid.
No, he's not.
That man is genuinely brilliant, genuinely brilliant. Yeah, he might not be the best speaker. He has a whatever, a little bit of a speech impediment, I would say. But when he gets in a flow and he starts just rattling stuff off that he just knows, it's very impressive. It's
Yeah,
very
no,
impressive.
he is an intelligent man. He can be foolish. He can certainly be shameless. He
Yes.
can be unethical. I mean, he certainly expressed all these kinds of things. But then again, I don't know how you go from being a kind of a, upper, lower, upper middle class brat to becoming a billionaire. You don't do that by being the nice guy.
No.
No, you
No, you do
eat
that by stealing
souls,
Johnny
dude.
Depp's wife.
That's
That's
right.
what you do.
And then mocking him for it.
Yeah,
Jesus,
basically calling him
Elon.
a cuck.
Elon.
Gee, Elon, chill. You already banged his wife. Do you need to take his soul too?
Yeah, I
Apparently,
mean
Elon's over there like, yeah, I do. Yeah.
that's a full-on biohazard problem right there with that girl, but she was highly fuckable. That is true. Yeah,
That's
she
true.
was a
She
little
was.
cutie. And she loved, you could see it in her movies because she loved to do little sex scenes, and she was really into it. So I bet you
Oh yeah.
she's an absolute firecracker in between the sheets. But her best movie, and it was only her best movie because she was in the absolute glow of Nicolas Cage, was
Well, yeah,
Drive Angry. So
yeah.
you know
Nick Cage has that effect.
he does. He he
He
he
just does.
he rises all ships
That's right.
galactically.
It's funny how much of a meme Nick became
Yeah,
when
and he loved
if
it
you were
too.
growing up in the oh of course if you were growing up in the 90s like I was, he was a megastar. He was the man in Hollywood for a long time, and then he got into trouble with all the money he owed and the
Yeah.
taxes and what have you. But
Divorces,
yeah,
women.
he was just he was at the very top. He might not have been the biggest star in the world, but he was damn close. He was right there. There
Oh
wasn't
no,
too many
he's a
higher.
big superstar. Yeah, he still is. And the thing I thought was interesting, just a couple of years ago, he dropped probably his best performance of his life in a little teeny indie film.
Yeah.
I mean, Pig, right? I mean, he does that. He'll go and do the moneymaker movies, 2 or 3 of them, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll do it, but you got to let me do one thing I want to do," and it's this like Oscar worthy, moment, right?
Hmm.
So that's Nick Cage, but he is amazing. Roger says, "Happy birthday, Thundero! Today and always, may
Thank
the
you,
universe
Roger.
always shower you with success." Are you 40 yet?
I am 38
Oh,
and
getting
in
close.
about 4 hours. Well, here's the thing. The last few birthdays I've had have been absolutely horrible. My mother died, then my father died, and in between there, an aunt died right on my birthday. So
Oh, well, yeah,
I
back to
now
back.
have one of my cousins who has been having heart trouble.
Hmm.
She was in the hospital and everything. And then tonight she was like, yeah, my chest is hurting again. I'm like, don't you? Come on, man. This is ridiculous. What's going on?
Hmm.
Because it's right around my birthday again, and another family member, one that I'm actually really, really close to. She's like my second mother. And now she's on the, knocking on the door. I'm like, come on, man. Somebody get rid of the door just for one birthday, please.
Right. Yeah. Well, the universe is saying something, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
cursed. That's what it's
yes,
saying.
that's what it
It's
is.
saying,
The
stay away from
Curse.
this guy on this time.
Interesting movie series, by the way, The Curse.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah, I don't know if they're good. I wouldn't say that,
Well,
but
they're
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah. But nevertheless, the Coneheads are from France, Dave. They are.
That's true.
And Dave is probably finished now, but earlier he was shaving.
Oh,
Sweet.
he was shaving? A
Yeah.
little late to be shaving. Where's Dave at? Dave, where are you at that you're shaving at this hour?
He just wants to be nice and clean and proper for getting into the beds. You know.
Yeah, I guess, but that just, I mean, won't it come back by the morning? Isn't that kind of.
Yeah, no, the Japanese have this philosophy, and I always thought it was funny because they always shower in the nighttime before they go to bed because their philosophy is be clean and tidy when going into bed. And now,
Okay.
of course, we Americans, we get up and we have our shower in the morning to be clean and fresh for the day, right?
Hmm.
Because you're going to sweat out tons of stuff while you're sleeping, and it's one of the filthier moments of your day is when you're sleeping, actually. And
Yep.
but that's the science. And the Japanese haven't been really good with the science until recently. Don't tell them that.
They really invested
Right.
in the
But
lie that they're
yeah.
advanced.
Yeah, no, but they have they've walked the walk though. But like, to give you an example of that, throughout every place in the world, you have the Pleiades referred to as the Seven Sisters, right? The whole planet calls
Hmm.
them Seven Sisters, and this is coming back to the ancient story of Orion, right? The Titan Orion. And I'm not going to go into the whole story and all that kind of stuff, but whatever. The Seven Sisters, right? And
Yep.
of course, today we know the Pleiades is a star cluster with over 1,000 stars in it. There's actually 9 super bright ones that our telescopes let us see, but yada yada yada. But nevertheless, the whole world called them the Seven Sisters, right? Except for one little place on the planet that called Japan, or Nihon, and they called
Mhm.
them the Six Sisters.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh
Because
boy.
oh boy, because the thing is, in ancient times, and it gets into a very interesting conversation of where that story comes from, as many stories. But there was a point in ancient times where you could see with your naked eye 7 stars. But over time, because we're moving in space, right?
Yeah.
2 of those stars, from our point of view, became close enough that they just look like one. So when you look up in the sky today with your naked eye, you only see 6 stars in the Pleiades, right? And actually, only if you have good eyes. And most people probably just see 5. But nevertheless, you only see 6. The story is truly ancient, but somehow along the line, the Japanese got the same, because they have the same story, by the way, but they lost the sister. God damn it,
Lost a
Japan!
sister. They would lose a
They
sister.
would.
That sounds like a very Japanese thing to do. Let me be
Yes,
honest with you.
yes. But the thing is, when you go back in time and look at when that alignment was, from our point of view, we're talking about, and a lot of things in our historical conversations are actually from an earlier human group, not us. We are Homo sapiens sapien, right? There are many human
Mhm.
groups, and then you have the pre-human groups like Homo erectus, things like that. So, hominids have been running around a long time, but we kind of attest. Or assert, I would think would be a better word, that everything in our society, all our old allegories and stories and mythologies and all this kind of stuff is human. But actually, the deeper we study, the more we realize that there's a good chunk of it is coming from people before us, not us.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and this is one of
Oh,
those stories.
the
Like, for instance,
lizards.
well, no, humans, human types, just not like
Hey,
us.
maybe they're
Neanderthal,
human type lizards.
Heidelbergensis, Denisovans, these peoples. But they're not us. They're different types of human, hominids, right? But
Mhm.
I just find that very fascinating, right? Because it ties in a lot with understanding our history, right? Because there's probably a really good chunk of our history that's not our history. It's someone else's, and we either
It's all a bunch of lies, is what you're
well, we
telling me.
we adopted it the same way everything adopts today. I mean, look, you can go to a little third world country, say Taiwan. Taiwan is a perfect example. When the Japanese went in there, this is back during the Japo-Russo Wars and during the Meiji time. When the Japanese went into Taiwan, Taiwan was a savage island. They were savages. I mean, in every sense of the word. They had
Mm.
a practice there where, in order to get married, you had to bring your potential wife the head of an enemy, literally. Now, I don't
Hmm.
know about you, but you can't expect a society to grow really, really and flourish with that kind of philosophy. It ain't happening,
No.
right? You're reducing your potential young men and what they can bring onto the world. The Japanese came in and says, "Yeah, you goddamn savages," beat him around the head and shoulders, said, "Here, this is how you do it," taught and educated him, became it's one of Japan's best friends in Asia now because the Japanese brought them out of literal savagery into the modern world, right? So now you go to Taiwan, they're masters of computer chips. They got airports and they got trains and all the kind of modern. It's a super modern place, right? Just like most places in the West, and. It was something that was shared with them. It's something that they got from the outside, and humans are
Mm.
like that. We're happy to take that stuff that's not ours and apply it. And a lot of our histories and knowledges, and probably a lot of the early technologies we have, aren't even from us. They're from something else, right? And I'm not
Mhm.
going to get into a conversation of how we came to be where we are. That's a long one. But we certainly adopted other people's thinking, technologies, and stories. It's just the reality of it. I know a lot of people don't like it because humans, we're the bestest ever, and right now is the bestest ever of the bestest ever.
Yeah,
Did I pop
obviously.
any pompous conceits? I might have. Nevertheless, anyway, happy to have you guys here. I know for your weekend you didn't have a good one. My weekend I worked a lot, but that's what I usually do. I usually don't have off, although I've been busy because I had to put together a full presentation on Solon. Whew, damn. But
The man himself.
the man himself. Well, boy, he's a very important turning point in the history of the Aegean, isn't he? I mean, he created a little thing, we call democracy.
Yeah.
Even the word
So
he created.
so he's the one who that
He's
bastard.
the dude. Yeah, he did that. So, but he created a lot of Salon's very interesting. But I was pretty busy, not only with just work, actually in the classroom, but having to put that presentation together. But I'm happy with it. I was just kind of going over it before the show, and yeah, just checking to make sure everything's where it needs to be, and all the presentation files have been, are appearing properly. The little stuff you do. You ever done made or created a presentation before?
Yes. Oh,
You
it's
know what
been
I
a
mean.
long time, but yes.
Yeah, I create them all the time. Actually, I create them also for my D&D Tuesday on Bugbear's Basement. Which is fun.
He's organized. He's an organized man.
Well, it's useful, it's effective. So but that was my weekend. Hopefully, you guys had a better weekend. You know what I really want? I want a barbecue weekend, Thundero.
Yeah,
I do.
yeah, yeah.
I want to.
Yeah, hey, listen, that's the advantage of being in America is that can be not just every weekend, that can be every day if I
It can be. You guys are so lucky. It costs me so much money and time to try to be American. My God. I mean, I literally have to add 10-20% to my overall cost just to be an American living overseas, dude. I mean, God damn it.
Yep.
But you know what I want to make. I wonder how many people in chat know this. Country style ribs. I haven't had them in forever, dude. Of course, they're not ribs at all. You take like a rump roast
Yeah,
and you cut them into rib shapes,
that's
and
right.
you barbecue them, and then you braise them, and then you sticky them. Oh my God, dude. The best ever short ribs I ever had, not short ribs, sorry, country style ribs, which, like I said, they're not even a rib. You guys know what I mean. Um, the best ever I had came out of New England. Huh. Not Tennessee, not Texas. Tennessee especially, I think, is that area of the South there super popular. But they actually came out of Rhode Island and an Indian reservation made by
Wow.
Indians.
Engines.
Mm. And they were
Yeah.
awesome, dude. I'm telling you, if you guys ever get a chance to go to a powwow, go because it's interesting. I mean, culture stuff's always cool, right? That's
Oh yeah.
fun. But the food though, because those
Yeah,
Indians, man, they can cook, dude.
there's one thing about humanity that is absolutely universal and will never ever ever change. We
Hmm.
like to eat.
We do.
And we are really good at finding different ways to do what we like to do. Real good. In fact, I'd say it's our one of our primary skills is finding different things and different ways to eat. We can eat just about everything, so we do because we're a ridiculous species that doesn't know how to restrain itself. Um,
Hmm.
and that's really the story of humanity you're leaving out, Chester.
Food, man.
You see, that's what we do. Once
Hmm.
we find something we like, we do it and do it well. And then we
Yeah.
keep doing it, and then we find new ways of doing it until, maybe we, genocide whole other groups of humans so that
Yeah,
we can
well,
do it
you know,
ourselves.
with a little genocide amongst friends.
Right.
But yeah, no, of course we're a highly adaptive species. This is true. Eric says, well, let's do Dave first. Dave says, I'm still mixing in my shaving cream. Didn't have the motor function to shave in the morning. Okay, why you bothering with shaving cream, dude? Just take your razor, a little bit of water, and you're good to go. You don't need shaving cream. Jesus, use some, Park Avenue, Elite. Jesus. But Eric says, my wife just made those tonight. Not barbecue, but cooked in sauerkraut in a slow cooker. Oh, those are awesome too. Oh,
Not
so
bad.
good.
Not bad.
But yeah, now it's weird because Eric and I are New Englanders, right?
Yeah.
And we come from the same hometown. And
Oh,
well, no, he's a friend of mine from my youth. Slow cooker. Yeah, no, I know, dude. Those are great. Uh, but uh, uh, it's interesting how many considered southern foods you can find in New England. And of course it's exactly what you said. It's good, damn it. We don't care where it's from.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's accurate. I actually often shock people when they find out because where I live, I live in the Midwest, and but one thing we have here, especially here in this specific, if I could say it, city that I live in,
Hmm.
is we have an unbelievable literal plethora of different kinds of food. Like there is I don't think there's a major kind of food, like, nationality or ethnicity that exists
Hmm.
that you cannot find a restaurant of here. Right here in the center of the
Yeah, sure.
Midwest of Ohio.
That's the point, right?
And it's because once we find food we like,
Hmm.
we take it,
Hmm.
we replicate it
Hmm.
as best we can, and
Hmm.
then we eat it.
Hmm.
That's how we do.
Damn right. Although we in Rhode Island have the best sausages in the world. You guys just don't know.
Well,
No, no, no.
I don't know about
It's
that now.
called the Soggy, and we win.
You win, you just win, do you?
We win. Now, Grimlock, you're an urbanite. Do you know anything about barbecue?
Urban night.
I was
Are you
trying to be
accusing me of,
politically correct.
Are you accusing me of being aware of racial stereotypes?
Dude, man, I'm one of the whitest dudes you'll ever meet, and I'm all about the barbecue, dude. I love it.
I know.
Barbacoa any day.
Um,
Urban night.
barbecue is one of those things I file under the file of proof that there is a loving God above who loves us.
That's
That's
true.
Um,
That is true. That is proof of God.
and
That is fair.
I am glad to live in a country where you literally don't need a reason to barbecue. It could be like, oh, Chester's coming to the States. Let's have a fry. It's like,
Hey, man, I'll have that too. But I mean, and of course, being from New England, a boil would be another option. But no, barbecue is just some special thing, and I think part of it, this is a theory, but part of it, barbecue is you can't do barbecue quickly. It takes
no,
love and time,
yeah,
and I think the universe just kind of nods its head and winks and says, "Yep, yep,
yep.
love." I believe that. Barbecue is love. It's true.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
Dave, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I've been shaving with just water for 40 years and I've never had a goddamn infection. What kind of shaky ass hands do you got, brother?
You've never had an ingrown hair from shaving? Not once?
No.
Interesting. I
Lucky
don't
son
think
of a bitch.
actually of my face. I don't think I ever have on my face. That's all I'll say about that. But I don't think I ever have on my face.
I've never even had an ingrown toenail. I've heard about them. I saw it on MASH. It was
I had
something the
one once.
military frowned upon.
I literally ripped it out with my own two hands, and it bled a bit,
Yeah.
and it
Oh
hurt,
well, I've had that happen. Maybe
but it
that's
came
what
out.
those are. I don't know. But no, I've never had shaving. My God, I can't even remember any time in my life I've actually nicked myself shaving.
When was the last time you even
Same.
shaved? Don't you have like a big old beard?
Oh, dude, I shave every day. I have the cheek patch
Maybe I'm getting you and
and I
Ben
have
mixed up.
the neck patch. No, no, no. Ben is a gorilla. We know this.
That's correct. Yeah.
It's different. Eric says barbecue is one of the few things that actually can get people to slow down. Yeah, no, that's fair enough, Eric. I mean, barbecue takes time. It just slow down. Unless you go buy a Traeger, like some Urbanite or something. But it
Ben's
just
It is.
gets slower.
beard is proof that he's a Thor fan because he was asked to shave once, and I have on reliable sources that his response was, "I say thee nay."
So that's right. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Well, I remember they shaved and waxed him his back once here in Japan, and it was funny as hell. Another
Why
thing
did he
was
lose a bet?
no, he was trying to get a girl. He
Well,
was manscaped, Rodwell. Yes, he was. But the funnier thing was he was having some, I think, back pain or something like that. And they took him to a chiropractor, and just watching the chiropractor go at him and his little squirms and squeals were hilarious, dude. Hilarious. Oh, Ben, where are you, Ben? You've been summoned, sir. Grimlock is
I
questioning your manliness again.
I need
I
to.
took up for him.
You did.
That's true. I need to find me a chiropractor, see if they can sort this neck out.
Mm. Well,
They
to be
do help.
honest with you, a chiropractor can, if they know what they're doing, they can be useful for sure. But one of the easier ways to prevent those kinds of problems is, I know it's going to come across as weird, but yoga. Because what I do is I do isometrics, right? And I spend 30 minutes a day, just running up the mountain and isometrically pushing on a rock for about 10 minutes. I mean, that's all I do. I don't do anything else, right? I used to do
Hmm.
more sports activities, but I'm too busy. But so you don't have. It isn't like you have to be like these, Liver King guys and going to the gym and pumping yourself full of hormones. Just a little bit of exercise. But the isometrics or yoga, which is a kind of an isometric action, it's really all you need. You just need to kind of get those muscles warmed up, right?
Get moving.
Just warm them up, and isometrics is really good, and yoga does it similarly. It's just a little longer because isometrics are warming your every muscle in your body at the same time. And if you do this, that you won't have those kind of stiffness and stuff like that. But anyway, I do need to get on the show. I'm not going to let us go an hour again. I ain't doing it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's all Grimlock's fault anyway. Let's be honest.
Well, that's fair. That is fair.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get this up. And I don't know why I've lost, but whatever. Yeah, I put it up for you. Oh, there it is. It decided to pop in on us. So go ahead, dude.
New rumor claims Marvel Studios is, quote, reevaluating its release lineup for phases 5 and 6 over concerns about poor quality.
Mm.
Now, here's what I would guess. Iger straight up gave an interview recently. I don't know if we're talking about it or not, but I will right here. Where he effectively backpedaled and then doubled down at the same time, which was interesting because I've never seen that move before. It was one step back and then double down. That's what he did. And I said, what? Anyway, so I wonder if Iger's plan is, because he straight said in that interview or that whatever it was that a town hall with Disney employees, I guess, they're not going to back off of gay representation or whatever
No,
I think was his
They're
wording.
not. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, fine. No one's going to watch your stuff as you just saw, but okay, fine. But then at the same time, he says, but we also need to be conscious of listening to our audience and giving them what they want, basically. So you can't do both, Bobby. So what's the plan? Well, my guess is they were going to push really, 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 really hard with this stuff coming in, right?
Mhm.
And now they're gonna dial it back. They're not going to cut it out completely, but they're going to dial it way back, way back, and see if they can, sneak it in and do it under the radar. He also said in that interview where he quite literally confirmed what I've been saying about Disney, that they absolutely are a social engineering company, and that's what their aim is to do. They don't care about making money on their movies. They don't care about being entertaining. All of that stuff is secondary to their first goal, and that is, what was his wording? Um, to help the world see better or something like that. However he put it, it was something to that effect.
Yeah,
And
no, no,
basically to see the world the way he wants, the way Disney and
exactly.
Bob
Yes, and
Iger
he
wants the
states it
world to
very
see it.
clearly. That's true.
Yeah,
It's true. Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, so they do have an agenda. Disney in particular, I think Disney is a very, very even though they were a little more subtle than some other examples. I think as a company as whole, they're probably one of the most woke companies that you have out there.
His
Outside of
exact words were, "We actually changed the world for good."
hmm
Disney, everybody. That's
yeah,
what Disney
Disney.
Entertainment Company is up to. That's what their mission is.
Yeah.
Change the world for good. Not to just entertain you and make, quality content. No, no. Their mission is to brainwash you to think the way they prescribe, whether you like it or not. That's what that means.
So therefore, promoting the ideals of prosperousness and happinessness.
Yeah,
No,
that's right. It'd
no,
be nice.
no,
No,
no, no.
no. That'd be nice, but no, 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 no.
Well, I'm going to
It's
show you
about
this
as
article.
divisive as it could possibly get, and that's what it's all about. It's about,
Yeah,
well, really, if you want to break it down, it's about three things: white man bad, gay people good, and non-white people are perfect and flawless and always
yeah.
so.
It's weird.
And if you question these, you're some sort of racist or bigot.
Yeah,
So,
instead of just judge people based on their merit and their actions.
ah,
Well,
you can't be having
whatever.
that.
But they are
Can't be having
revving
that.
up, that's for damn sure. But before I show this article, I do have to respond to Dave. Dave says, "How is it in any way unusual to use shaving cream? I use toilet paper when I wipe my ass too. Well,
I use shaving
toilet
cream
paper,
too, Dave.
sir, canvas and or wool. Huh?
Well, you got to remember, Chester is in a country where they wash their buttholes with water. They
We do,
spray it up in there
we
like some
do.
sort of orca. It's
Goddamn
it's very
heathens.
very odd to me.
Toilet
Yeah, it's
paper.
odd to me.
Yes.
No, I use shaving cream too when I shave with an actual razor when I don't use an electric. But
Yeah. No, I know most
it's
people do.
mostly out of habit.
I just don't. Never have. I just never have used the shaving cream. It seems like an extraneous activity to me.
Sounds like you're just fucking lucky. You don't get no ingrown hairs.
No, I don't know what to
Got
tell you,
smooth
dude.
skin and shit.
Well, they do call me Tamago-chan over here.
Oh,
Yeah,
what's that mean?
it means egg shelled or egg smooth. Yeah, I know it sounds bad, but it actually is a
Is that a
compliment.
racial slur? Did
No, no,
Japan
no.
come up with a good racial slur?
The ladies think I have the most beautiful skin, and they call me Tamago-chan.
Hey, so what is it? What is a racial slur but a good thing? Like what's that called? Where it's not a slur, but it's like, hey, I like this. Like how the myth of black men having big giant penises. That's not a slur to say. So what is it?
Myth is the word. Okay. But anyway, let's get into this here. Now, in the early part of this, there's a couple articles today I suggest you might read. This one is interesting. They're kind of going over looking what they're doing phase 5 and 6, and basically in the course of this it's looking at a couple of interviews and information that's come out. It's not just looking at the Bob Iger interview he gave recently, but the SEC document states a contemplated by leadership change announcements, etc., in regards to official things with Disney. The DMED, which is in charge of all their anything that's not park related, is that department with Disney. But basically, what they're saying here is that they're not going to change what they're doing. They're just going to do much less of it. So
Yes.
really, what's happening is they're doing something similar to Warner Brothers, but Zaslav is like, dude, we're going to be profitable. Disney is like, okay, we need to save money. So a lot of the projects that they've announced, they will be canceling, and you're going to get a lot less product, a consumable product out of Disney than usual. That's really the big change we're going to see. They're not going to change their mission because, as Bob Iger and many of them have said, they are right, you are wrong. They're very clear.
That's right.
But what they're
Yeah.
really with the whole summing the whole article and interviews and stuff up, they're just going to be doing a lot less of it. So they want to go with quality over quantity. And to be fair, I don't know that Disney puts out too many things anyway, really, if we look at it. But you're going to be getting a lot less of it, right? So maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But anyway, the first part here is going through kind of technical stuff of the company. And then when we get down into here, we start getting into some of the conversations. And it's like I said, they are comparing with the statements to what Zaslav is doing, but he's doing it for a very different reason, right? What Zaslav just wants profit. Disney wants. They think that if they reduce the amount of things they're doing, therefore reduce their costs, their woke stuff that they put out will be able to sustain them, which I don't know why. Well, how they think that. Well, take a look here. I think this right here is rather important. So here is a list of everything that has come out from Disney, Marvel particularly, right? And you see there's a lot of movies here. And it's looking at the actual breakdown. We have a budget, projected budget. We know these things aren't particularly honest. And then we have a worldwide. Now, like I told you before, there are many factors involved, but for basic, simple math, the easy way to understand what a movie made is look at its worldwide box office and cut it in half, and then
Yeah.
compare that to its budget. And then and keep in mind that these budgets, you often want to at least increase them by 50% for advertising, if not more. These budgets are not honest, but nevertheless, simple math. I would take the budget, add 50% to it, minus it from half of the world box office, and then you're seeing the actual potential profit that was made from that movie. Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, they made money, most
Oh yeah.
certainly. To
Yep.
almost $3 billion on Endgame, dude. Damn, dude.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It is crazy. Spider-Man: No Way Home, which is a more recent one, another banger, and it makes sense too. It was a little bit cheaper too than those as far as its costs, although its worldwide advertisement budget was enormous. But Spider-Man: No Way Home, I think, is a good example because it's just a fun little family-friendly movie, dude. It's not trying to be
Yep.
anything else. I think it leans a little bit toward younger family, but who cares? It's just a
Mm.
straight up family movie. It's fun. It's not getting in your face so much. I mean, there's some, let's be fair. Doctor Strange is dumb as shit in that movie, but whatever. It's just a fun little movie, and people are like, yay, and they went and watched it. Took their kids, right?
Yep.
I mean, do you think you're
Yep.
going to take your kids to see freaking Wakanda Forever? For fuck's sake. I mean, who would do that? That's not
Well,
a
there are people
family
who would.
movie.
I went to when I went and watched the first Deadpool movie. There were kids in there, but
Well,
yeah.
that's just irresponsible.
Yep.
Anyway,
I agree.
so we're looking at these, and they put them in order of worldwide box office gain, and of course, like I said, you have to compare budgets, but nevertheless, we see that certainly had some success, but it is diminishing returns overall, right, compared to what makes money and what doesn't. So if there's a little couple of outliers here, right? 2021 Spider-Man No Way Home. By the way, we know this is Sony, but I understand why it made money. Then we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse, also almost made $1 billion, and that's coming out this year. So that's a little bit of an anomaly, but I don't think that movie was as annoying as some of the other ones. And as we come
No.
down in here, most of the newer stuff is toward the bottom of the list, right? So
Yeah.
we have Thor: Love and Thunder. This thing certainly didn't make money, dude. I think
No.
they'll be lucky if that broke even. Winter Soldier, unfortunately, but then again, the Captain America stuff, to be fair, is not family movies, especially Winter
Hmm.
Soldier. It is a spy drama, right?
Yeah.
It's not a kid. It's not for kids. Wakanda Forever. Wow. Yeah, that thing isn't going to make money either. I thought it was doing better than that. Hmm.
Nope. No, it died off. Like it had a really good like first week or two or whatever, and then it just fell off a cliff because it sucks. It's not a good movie. Even like normie, complete normie reviewers say it's not a good movie. It's not a good film. The first one is much better, and it's not that good of a film. So
Yeah, no, it's a very that's a 5 at best, the original Black Panther. But
yeah.
then again, you can't take away the cultural impact it had. Even though, if you look at it logistically or analytically, it is kind of silly. It doesn't matter. It had its effect. I mean, that's one of the things I say to people all the time, especially if we're having a conversation that tends to be more conspiracy theory-ish, right? Saying, "Well,
Hmm.
that's just a conspiracy theory." Da, 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 da. And I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter because if the people who have the money and power believe it, does the
It
truth
might as
actually
well be
matter?
true.
It might as well be true.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter what you believe, it depends on what they believe.
that's right.
That's what's important. And we're going to be talking about that's a little bit of foreshadowing, by the way. But we look down here and we see that, we've had some pretty low drops in here. Shang-Chi was not a good movie. Eternals was an actual bad movie. Shang-Chi is watchable, though. Shang-Chi is definitely watchable, but it's not a great movie. Eternals was just a bad movie. It's just bad. I mean, we don't need to get into the wokeness of it. It's just bad. Black Widow was insulting, in my
Yeah,
opinion. I mean,
yeah.
this is one of your main cast characters. She's sold really well for you. People really like her. And once again, isn't that your agenda? It's all about the ladies. So here's a lady that people really like. Is it because she's a redhead? Is that what it is?
No,
Yeah, I genuinely don't know.
it's because it wasn't one of the ones they picked.
I don't know. It's weird, dude.
No,
Uh,
no, seriously, that's what it is. Like you was talking about the doubling down on the social engineering. Well, look at Black Panther. Black Panther is the reason they could believe that shit can continue to work
yeah,
because that movie was highly socially engineered. That's a meh movie.
yeah. I don't
If
know.
you took away all that nonsense that they did about that movie and how they had so many people act like this had never been done before. We've never seen a black ensemble cast in a fucking movie before. When I'm like, wait a minute, hey, what are you 5? Like, no, they they engineered the hell out of that. That was a mediocre movie. That's a movie. If you go back and watch it more than once, you find more and more holes in it.
Oh, sure. No, no, a lot of them are
So,
like that. One of the most holy movies. There's a couple of them that come out of Disney that are full of plot holes. There's two that come to my mind: Captain Marvel and Force Awakens.
well,
My God, dude,
Captain Marvel was another one. That was another socially
so many
engineered
plot
movie.
holes, dude. It's like, what are you doing? And it's sad
Yep.
because we know if they went with the kind of more original story and lead into the that whole idea of her being a lover of Captain Marvel and his death and sacrifice and her gaining the power, yada yada yada. That's a wonderful story you could make. You could actually, to be fair, I don't think the comics, because they were more concerned about Captain Marvel and making him this heroic sacrifice martyr type of guy. And I understand that they didn't really worry about her connection as much as they should have. But in hindsight, you could have made that powerful. That could have been a
But
powerful message, right?
this goes to show you how they're not even in touch with the audience they want.
No, no,
Carol
they're well,
Danvers,
no, they're
and
no, no, they are in touch with the audience they want. They're not in touch with the audience they have.
no, they want the female audience because they spend more money. But
Well, yeah, that's true.
women, all right, Carol Danvers, you would know this in the early part, and especially in the early parts of her history, is full of trauma. Women like
Yeah,
watching shit
huge.
when women go through traumatic shit
They
for
do,
some reason.
they do,
That's why the Lifetime Network works.
that's right. And they also
It's
like
a
to
it's
see
a bunch of
handsome
women
men with
getting
no
beaten and
shirts.
set on fire by men, and they love that shit for some fucking reason.
The women are
Like,
objectifiers.
yeah,
Hmm.
but
It's true.
they'll watch. It works.
Yeah, it does.
They couldn't
Uh,
get the WNBA to work on Lifetime, but they got all those Danielle Steele book adaptations to work.
yeah, no, they did, and of course, the for me, one of the most perfect examples of what you're mentioning, of course, is the 50 Shades of Grey. perfect
yeah.
example. But this is a list of all the Marvel movies, not including the Disney Plus stuff, but just the cinematic stuff. And you can see that where were they making their money was mainly in their lead up from the great start they had, with Iron
Yep.
Man. They put Incredible Hulk in here as well. I don't know if they should have, but I wouldn't put that in this list, to be honest with you. They had
According to them, it's part of that movie's part of the
it is,
MCU.
I know, and of course these early movies are from Paramount anyway. They're not from Disney, to be fair. But whatever, they
Yep.
did this wonderful building up, and it paid off in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. It paid off. They put the hard work in, and boy did it pay off. But since then, it's been shaky. I mean, look at the thing since Endgame, because Endgame's not a good movie, even but the
Yes.
lead up to it was, because
Mm.
Infinity War is, well, it's not
Wait,
arguably,
go.
it is the best movie they made.
Yeah,
You know.
but here's the thing. Go back to the bottom.
Hmm.
This should tell them everything. Go back to the bottom of the list.
Hmm.
All right, you look at Hulk and Captain America first Avenger, right?
Hmm.
There's no hype. There's no hype, right? No build up.
Not yet.
We're just seeing where it's going. And for inflation, we're looking at that what less than $100 million difference between those two movies and Black Widow
Those
and
things
the
didn't really,
and
they
like,
barely made any money, dude. And Black
yeah,
Widow
I know
lost
they
money
did.
for sure.
But looking at those movies compared to, it's like Captain America: First Avengers. I other than like diehard comic fans, nobody was really talking about that movie. And considering the amount of money it brought in compared to Eternals, that should tell them every fucking thing, because the
Yeah.
price of a movie ticket when that movie came out was significantly cheaper than
That's true.
2022.
This is not adjusted for inflation. That is true. And of
So,
course, we have to keep in mind that a lot of these things, their merchandising and their Blu-ray sales and their future
yep.
earnings are varied. Captain America: The First Avenger, even though I don't know that it made any money over the long run of it. It certainly has, because it's beloved. Do you think the Eternals will make any kind of future money? No,
No,
right?
that that fish is dead.
Yeah, and I really wish this list here was put with inflation in place to give us a better view. But we're not stupid. We can figure that out. But I mean, the point is this is their peak. The Avengers Endgame was very, I'd say, controversial, because some people did like it, a lot of people didn't, like myself, didn't like it for obvious reasons. However, it was the pinnacle, and it makes sense that it was, because they built into it, right? But since then, what has peaked for them? Let's see here. The closest thing it came that has peaked for them is right here. And like I said, because I don't count the Spider-Man movie, because that's not a Disney film. That is a Sony film. Spider-Man's a separate beast anyway. But because it's not really you know what I mean. But the only thing it really hit was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and that did make money. So interesting.
And considering that wasn't a lot of money either
No, this
compared
was a little bit
compared to its
cheaper than
overall.
some of their other ones. 200 million still is expensive, but they certainly made money on it. And of course, the interesting thing, the next one we see since the Endgame, that is in the top here, we're starting to get into Black Panther and Love and Thunder, and these things absolutely lost money, even though we're seeing big worldwide. And like I said, cut it in half, add 50% to the production, compare.
Yeah.
Black Panther is certainly not making money. Even though we don't have a production value, we know where it's going to be sitting at, something similar we're looking at, right? And Thor and Love and Thunder didn't make money either. So they've definitely been going down. But beyond that, the conversation kind of in this article kind of shifts into Iger and his comments, which we already really covered. But you can go ahead and read that, Thunder, in your best Bob Iger if you'd like.
And my best Bob Iger. Hang on 1 second. The wife was in here bugging me. I had to move it. Oh, what did Bob Iger say? Come on, computer. Computer's having a conniption. Hang on.
This company has been telling stories for hundreds of years.
All right. This Iger said this company has been telling stories for 100 years. That's Bob Iger's voice, in case anybody's wondering. And those stories have had a meaningful, positive impact on the world. And one of the reasons that they've had meaningful, positive impact is one of our core values is inclusion, acceptance. Wait a minute. Acceptance. He said 3 of them. Oh, Bob. Acceptance and tolerance. And we can't lose that. We just can't lose it. We can't. It's so important, guys.
Yeah.
Guys.
Yeah.
Hey, anybody? Applause? Someone?
Yeah.
No?
Well, in some
Nobody
ways,
hates
it
me?
is kind of true. It's just not true in the way he thinks.
Correct.
And he continues.
Accurate. And he continues, that said, we're not going to make everybody happy. We're not all the time, and we're not going to try to. We're certainly not going to lessen our core values. Where'd he go? To make everybody happy all the time. So it's complicated, and there's a balance. So
Well, no, there isn't
basically,
a balance.
you
You
said-
just said there is no balance.
you said nothing there.
What are you saying, Bob? You just said
He's
there is no
contradicting
balance,
himself.
Bob. But then there's balance? Stop it, Bob.
Bobby. Old Bobby boy. Old Bobby boy.
Yeah.
No, he's lost. He's lost in a morass of nonsense thinking, and he doesn't know how to get out of it.
Yeah. And here is what you were
Uh,
talking about earlier, where he continues.
Yeah. And at one point, I'm just going to read it normal now because that voice hurts my neck. At one point, I said, we do what we believe is right. And someone criticized me saying, well, who are you to say that's right? Well, when you are in a job like mine, or you are responsible for the storytelling that many of you are responsible for, you get paid to have a sense for what is right. Not everybody will agree with you. No, Bob, you get paid to tell stories.
And make money.
That's
be
it.
profitable. Yeah.
The unmitigated gall of this man shouldn't still surprise me, but somehow he found a way to surprise me, Chester. He found a way to shock me with his hubris yet again.
Yeah. Well, and Eric, I do agree with that statement. Eric says, I think the problem is the current movies are not building up to anything like the first movies did. I agree with that 100%. They are lost. They decided to kill off Robert Downey Jr. because he's hella expensive. And whatever. That was one of the better parts of Endgame, actually. But they are lost, Eric. You're right. They've been trying to make certain things stick to become the new, Tony Stark, right? And nothing has stuck. They're completely running around in circles. They're completely lost. So you are correct. They are aimless, and that's another issue. And the thing is, there are many issues, obviously, but we're just talking more about the political insertion here, right? Because I guarantee you, let's take Wakanda Forever, right? Now, that is it's not a great movie, just on its, standing as a movie, and it has a lot of political issues in it that are just, what are you doing, right? But all that aside, we have to keep in mind that wherever these political injections are coming from, the vast majority of the people working on those movies probably don't hold those feelings. The cameraman, the dude that runs and gets the catering, all those kind of things. The girl that runs around and takes notes on everything. All those kind of people, they're have their heart put in these things. If you've ever, I would suggest, go watch a documentary on the making of some film. It doesn't really matter what it is, but one of the documentaries that takes into, talking to the cast and the crew as well. These because they're so close to each other, so tight and locked in for months at a time, they become like little families, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll go and work on movies that they've worked in with the same people before, and it becomes this little community. And now that can be bad, which we see, with the Hollywood effect, but it also has a positive thing. These people are putting their hearts and souls into creating something, and they're very hopeful that it's something that people enjoy because they have a love for the effort they've put in. And I think a lot of times in these conversations we lose track of that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this whole mindset here, I said it in the Discord, is exactly how every authoritarian and tyrant has thought all throughout history. They know better, and it doesn't really matter to them if you think otherwise. They're just going to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. It's repugnant to me that there are people out there who think like this, but it's not surprising.
Mhm.
And Bob Iger might be a better businessman than Chapek was, maybe. I think Chapek kind of got dealt a dirty hand, maybe intentionally by Iger, if I'm being honest.
It seems so, doesn't it? It
Because
does, yeah.
everybody knew Phase 4 was going to be a disaster. Because of course it was. There was no way to keep going. It had to go down eventually, and they just hit the biggest movie of all time. There was nowhere to go but down. So it's kind of, I don't even really think it was Chapek's fault. Of course, he seems to be the fall guy here. But the idea is for Disney is to try and right the ship before they get, well, probably bought, which I honestly would love to see happen. I would love to
Apple
see
is
one
making
of the other
noise about that
companies buy it.
again. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
true. That is
yeah.
true. Well, it's interesting you use the word tyrant, and I'm kind of curious if the people listening understand the evolution of the word tyrant. And where how it was used initially. Today, of course, we know how we use it, but originally a tyrant was from the Hellenic states, the Hellenic leagues, and
Yes, sir.
they used it as a person chosen by the people to be a leader.
Correct.
Not the necessarily the archon, which is what the Athenians would call it, but just to be a public leader, a voice of the people is where they would give them the title of tyrant, right? But
Yep.
Solon sullied the name, that word, so badly that by Roman times they were like, yeah, we can't use that word tyrant. We want to have a person who the people have chosen to represent them. So the Romans came up with a new word, emperor. Oh yeah, that's a good one. We'll use that. But of course, emperor started getting a real bad meaning and feeling too. So what did the later people do? Americans in particular, they changed it to president.
That's right. Yeah.
So understand that president, the word we use, president, and its full meaning is coming directly from the original meaning of tyrant. Just understand that.
Correct. Well,
It's ironic, is it not?
it's also the only reason we have a president is because the president at the time, or the man who would become president, didn't want to be called anything else, and he pretty much said no. He acted like a tyrant. Was like, no, we're not doing that. And yeah, he decided
Yeah.
that he didn't want to be emperor because he didn't like the connotation of it. So that's where president came in. Exactly what you said. It was simply because the connotation of the word. Not that it was functionally really any different than most emperors throughout history, because spoiler alert, pretty much the same. There are varying differences here or there or whatever, but largely emperors weren't like these gods like we think they were or whatever. There was restrictions even on their power, especially and kings as well. But regardless of that, yeah, that's absolutely 100% factually correct. The only reason why we have a president in the United States of America is because the first one didn't want to be called emperor because he didn't like the sound of it.
Right.
He didn't want to be part of
Yeah,
an empire.
it's true. And I think we all should have taken Solon's words to heart and remembered them. Maybe that would have been useful, because
Right.
Solon said very clearly, the man of wealth and power is a man who never sees the value that he has right in front of him.
That's
Right.
true.
And it's very, very true. And especially if you go look at the story of Solon and Croesus of Libya. But there's a lot of good things written about Solon and all his interesting stuff. I would say I would go and read the writings of Plutarch about the life of Solon. It'd be a fun little read, and you'll see that that guy truly was the first democratic leader, the first guy who pushed for the concept of fairness and rightness.
Yep.
But nevertheless, that's Bob Iger doesn't come into that conversation because he is a
No.
dictator,
Yeah.
and
Well, it's funny that we especially in America, we have this idea that we don't like kings. We don't like kings, right? The whole, even like I said, George Washington didn't like the connotation of it, and we're very anti-regal in America,
We are.
except when it comes to CEOs of companies who are literally kings. By every way you could functionally describe a king, a CEO is one.
Oh, sure.
And
Oligarchy. And that's another thing
yeah,
that Solon was fighting against was the oligarchs. That's where the word comes
yes,
from, by the way. Huh.
yeah.
So
But anyway, just keep in mind with that well, no, I won't say that. Go ahead, Grimlock.
well, the thing is, like Eric was saying that there's not building to anything. Oh,
Yeah.
it's building to something. Most people don't realize what it's building to is Marvel Now 2015 that failed so fucking
No,
horribly
it definitely is.
because
But
like you said, the social engineering, and the guy who greenlit all of that went and hired himself a patsy in 2020 in the form of Bob Chapek
Yep.
to take the fall for all the shit that he had greenlit, because right now I think the only thing that came up under Chapek was Deadpool 3, and that's because he had changed the policy where all the so-called creatives would have to answer to him and Kareem Daniels,
right.
and it was those two that went to Ryan Reynolds. So, to all the people who are celebrating Chapek being gone but are excited for Deadpool 3, I don't know. I really don't know what you're thinking, because the guy who made that possible is gone,
Yeah,
and
no,
the guy who
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and I don't see how the guy who, because I see a lot of people like, oh, Iger is back and all of this
Got it.
nonsense, and I'm thinking, well, this guy
He's the one who did all of it.
basically caused all of
He
this,
did.
and now
Yeah.
you're thinking he's going to somehow fix it.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. But I am going to move on from this. We all know what's going on over there, and we'll just have to wait and see, because most people have just noped out of Disney. They just have, and
Yep.
it's not just Marvel stuff. Strange World come out, no one went and saw it. Willow is getting absolute ratioed, as it should. And I feel bad for Warwick Davis, to be honest with you. But it's just, it's they're firing on all cylinders, and it's burning the damn car down, right? But anyway, let's
Yeah,
Yep.
move on to the next thing. Dave does make the most important comment of the day. Men of War are the kings of metal, and we all love them. You are correct, sir. You are correct.
God
Uh,
bless man.
and I'll say something very controversial, Dave. I
Uh-oh.
personally think, looking at everything, the world really needs a utopian anarchy, but we'll never get it. We'd have to literally murder all of the bankers in the world, and I don't think we could possibly do it. But you know what would be a better choice than what we have right now? Are you waiting? Are you hearing it? Feudalism.
Oh, this guy. Well, I mean, we have a bastardized version of classical feudalism and neo-feudalism that they're desperately trying to ratify as if it's a good thing. You will own
Yeah,
nothing and you'll
but
like it.
they're missing the most important part of it, though, Thundero, and this is what it is. Under our current system, which is oligarchical, it certainly is. You have a large amount of leaders, to the point that you can't really point to any one person as being in charge of anything. Does anyone
That's
believe
right.
that Joe Biden is in charge of anything? Of course we don't.
No, no.
But there's such a big
He's
group
not
that
even Chester. He's not even in charge of his own bowels. Let's be
no, he's
honest.
not. He's not. He's just, he's just a scapegoat.
Yep.
The thing with it is, it's very easy for them to say, "Well, I didn't do it. I didn't know. I didn't have anything to do. It's this person's fault," and it can bounce around forever because there's such a huge body of them. Whereas
That's
back
right.
when you have the king, there's only one person in the end that is responsible. One,
That's right.
right? And with the noble system below it, the nobles are always looking for an opportunity to become the king, right?
That's
I'm
right.
not talking
Pose it.
hereditary here. I'm talking about actual the old system, right? And therefore, if you screw up, you're out, because there's only one person. There's a single human being that takes all
That's right.
responsibility, whether they're responsible or not. There's one. We don't have that anymore. And what that creates is a competitiveness amongst this potential leadership. And even if someone, if someone screws up, and another noble comes in and takes the king position, they better get the job done, because if they don't, they're out too. That's the beauty of it, because it sinks it all down into a single personage, right? That's how it works. And the simple fact of the matter is, the average person needs to be told what to do.
That's right. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying right now. This is
Uh,
why I advocate for a monarchy, Chester. Right there.
No, I
You
know
just
it's a
nailed it.
weird statement, but it is true. And I'm an American too. What the hell? John Diller
Yeah.
says, "You only feel bad for Warwick because he's a midget. That's racist." Fair enough, sir. Anyway, that was our first damn article. Jesus. We got to
Yeah.
pop through a couple of
Chester.
these real quick, if you don't mind.
Let's do it. Let's blitz.
Go ahead.
Eric July explains why Marvel introducing Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is utterly pointless and a botched opportunity. I mean, I can explain it because his whole point they've already done.
They did.
So,
yeah.
There we go.
Infinity War. But of course, Eric July coming up again. Very successful run he had there on that comic book. Good for him. Accolades, sir. Yeah, no, it's 100% true. And Adam looks horrible here, by the way. I know they've kind of retconned him, and he's coming out of this race. He's like a cloned or a created thing by the Queen. We saw it at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And we also, oh, Adam's coming. That'll be interesting. Nope.
I
Nope,
mean, I'm
didn't
gonna be
happen.
honest. That's the only part of the trailer I looked at. And I'm like why now? Like everybody's like Eric's like why now?
hmm
Your chance was 12 years ago.
It was.
you
It's a
know.
weird thing, but I guess they're just there. I think James Gunn sees his movies as being their own canon, their own
Well,
little
they didn't
universe.
even want to implement Adam Warlock. Feige and the gang didn't. They said that openly. It was James Gunn who kind of just did it anyway. And because he's the one who really liked the idea and the concept of Adam Warlock.
Well, he's
so
essential to the frickin' Infinity
no,
Gem
if you were going to
saga.
do the Infinity Saga completely properly,
Correctly.
as soon as you introduced Thanos as going to be the big bad, the very next big movie's teaser would have been Adam Warlock.
Yeah, we
And just
needed
you
Adam
need right
Warlock,
into it.
Eros, and Doctor Strange. That's who you need.
Yeah.
But
Well,
whatever.
here's the weird part of this, because we know how that turned in the Infinity Saga. So is he going to become the Magus at this point? Is that going
Maybe.
to be something that
Maybe.
happens down the road?
But then again, keep in mind that I don't know what's going to happen, because James Gunn has been headhunted by Zaslav, and he's basically the Warner Brothers bro now. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. Although I do understand in his contract he does have a right to do third party things, which would be Marvel, I guess. Well, I don't know. It is weird. And of course the other girl there, what was her name? Gamora's sister, big air quotes
Nebula.
there. Nebula. She's essentialist too. You need those four. Those are the four important ones.
Yep.
You gotta, especially her, But whatever, they did their
Yeah.
own thing, and I personally don't think it worked very well. But they had at least they
And
had a
they
plan.
and they robbed her. And they robbed her of her moment.
They did. They absolutely stole her moment. But whatever. At least they had a plan. It was a bad one,
Yeah.
but they had one. Moving on from this, but yes, Eric July, you are correct. This one, once again, I just put this up for Elon, really. Go ahead and read the headline.
This is hilarious. Alyssa Milano
Oh.
ditches her Tesla for a Volkswagen out of deluded fear that Elon Musk supports white supremacy. So she ditches one made by an African American for a company created by the literal Nazis.
Yeah, literal. It was the pride and joy of Adolf, of course.
That's right.
But of course, you all know this. You've all seen this in the debacle. It's funny. But I really put this up here mainly for Elon, because I think we need to go to the Hague, and we need to file a motion. Elon Musk, you as a human are not allowed this much fun, sir. You're not.
It does seem like Elon's the main character of Earth right now, doesn't it?
He does.
Like he's
and
just
he's
having all the fun.
so much fun, dude. He's just laughing his ass off, dude. And they like, no, Elon, I loved you. Why did you do this? Why did you say free speech is a thing? Because keep in mind, the whole time, what has Elon Musk done? He's saying free speech is important. public forums are needed, and people on Twitter should be treated fairly and equally. That's all he's done. That's literally all he's done. Nothing else. Right? In this whole Twitter
Yep.
thing anyway. We can talk about other things he's done, but whatever. I mean, so these people like Alyssa Milano are losing their goddamn mind because he's calling for free speech and a public forum, and the fact that people on Twitter should be treated fairly and equally. That's what they're
Yeah.
complaining about, dude. Am I missing? Did I miss something, Grimlock?
No, you didn't. It's again, it's the rules. It's these the fakeness of Hollywood, because it's like you're seeing that interview she had on The View, and now all of it, because they asked her what changed her mind on Elon, because like many white liberals, she was one of the many that for like years would just gargle his fucking nuts like Listerine.
Oh, she loved him. She adored
for every
him.
little thing that
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until all of a sudden he became unapproved, and then now everybody has to pretend like he's Hitler, just like Donald Trump. It's kind of funny that in about 30, 40 years, if they have any interest in telling history accurately, that two of the more important figures of this time period were two professional shit stirrers.
I know, right? Isn't that great? Although I do think Arnold Schwarzenegger takes some responsibility here, and he needs to be held to account. Sir, you should have let the great and late, I do believe, Dan Hedaya. You should have let him kill her.
I didn't even realize that was her in that movie. No idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she was a little cutie, and she went on that other. I can't remember the name of the show, but my brother's age group, that generation,
Yep.
she was
Mhm.
the hottie, dude. They were all
Yeah.
crazy about her. He had a poster on his wall. Everyone was crazy about her. My generations, we had a couple of them, Heather Locklear and stuff like that. But I'd say TV hottie was Christina Applegate.
Yeah.
But whatever. She was an actual sex icon, which is interesting.
Was being the operative
Well, the
word.
thing is, it's interesting how many of these sex icons have become these absolute tyrannical, Me Too feminists. It's really weird. So many of them, and it's like, well, okay, baby, but that's what made your career. You're rich because you were a sex symbol.
No, that's
Yep.
that's not a shock. It's the typical life cycle of a lot of those women. They're known for one thing. That one thing is their identity, and then when nobody cares about that one thing anymore, they get mad because they have nothing else, and that there's other women.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't last forever, but you are immortalized on film. It's like Rose McGowan, I think that's her name. She was an absolute sex symbol as well, a hottie. And what's the other one that came out bitching recently?
It's funny because Rose despises Alyssa Milano.
Well, yeah, but she's become really she's kind of the face of Me Too, isn't she? But who is that other actress that's come out recently complaining about how she was objectified? Oh yeah, Brooke Shields. Baby, oh my God. My God. Have you ever seen a anybody here? Raise your hand. Have you seen a Brooke Shields movie? Anybody? Raise your hand.
Can't act.
She's a horrible actress. She's absolutely horrible. She's only famous because she got her tits out when she didn't have tits.
Yeah.
And I think she was underage too.
Well, yeah, but there was no sexualization of her, and I guess that's why they thought they could get away with it. But because she's not sexualized. But you do have a 12-year-old Brooke Shields running around completely butt naked in that that well, I wasn't called Lolita, but it was a Lolita-esque movie. Yeah, man, I'm just saying she's a really bad actress. The only thing that made you famous was your good looks and your sexualized self, which you allowed to do. Now she said her parents did, but okay, you continued it. If you want to blame your parents for Blue Lagoon and whatever that movie was called and stuff you were in, okay, fine, do that. But as an adult, you kept doing it. You went on a date with Michael Jackson and he's gay. What the fuck? Did I go too far?
Not biting that one. Not taking the bait. No, sir.
No baits being taken.
No baits being bitten upon. But Alyssa certainly bit on a lot of shit. Because here's another lady who
If she was actually still doing that, we wouldn't have to fucking hear what she has to say. So,
But dude, she went on and on and on and sexualized. She went deep as far as her sexualization of herself in her later movie. Have you seen any of her stuff in the past 20 years? Come on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It is what they do. But the thing about Blue Moon there, Newfie, is that Blue Lagoon, sorry, is the fact that you do see her naked in that, but the actual intimate scene is a body double because I
Yeah.
think she was underage. So they had to body double the actual intimate scene, right? But whatever. It's just these. It's like, why? Your whole career was made upon your sexuality. What are you doing? You did it. Okay. Now, to be fair, in this movie, Alyssa is not sexualized at all. She's just a little kid. But I still hold that Arnold Schwarzenegger is fucking responsible. Moving on. Something fun. Here we go.
Something fun. Hey!
Frank.
No, Chester. The
Mhm.
2000s refers to
Uh-oh.
before 2011. Now, maybe even before 2010, but we're going to say 2011 just to be safe. Just so we're clear, so you don't get confused again.
hold on a minute. Let me get my crowbar first, because I know it's Frank.
It is. Yeah, be prepared. Frank is in the house. John is
Top
upset me because I
10
besmirched
action-
Michael. John, I didn't know
Oh.
you knew such a big word as besmirched.
That, sir, we call the William Regal effect.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Top 10
but,
actions movies of the 2000s by our favorite Mr. Senor, if you are of the Spanish dialect, Frank Martin.
Frankie. Old Frankie. He never gets it right, and that's why we love him so much. We got to get Frank on the show. We got to get someone going to need to go
We should.
over and get in
See if he's on
contact.
Twitter. Is Frank on Twitter? Let's find him.
I bet you
I'll
he is.
track
And
him down.
Of course, this is bounding, and I know in our community people are directly connected to bounding into comics. Maybe I should give send a DM over to John De La Rose because I know he writes for him. Maybe he can get Frank on the show and we can give him some love. But whatever. Let's move on here. So, okay, my aneurysm has begun. Transform.
Oh my God!
Oh,
Grimlock,
fucking
don't
hell.
look. You don't even know how much Grimlock hates that movie. I can't even. It's worse
It's
than
not
me in
good.
Endgame.
It's pretty
It's-
bad.
No.
Bad.
Thundaro. It's worse than that. Like, so, you're right. So, the Rise of the Beast trailer came out this week. I don't know if you've seen it,
Mhm.
Chester. And
About half of it, and I
I'll
shut it
admit-
off because it was damn stupid.
it actually looks good.
Oh, they all look
But-
great. They look great. Yeah.
But when you look in the comments, it's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. Everybody's like, just like praising this shit because I told a friend of mine, I said, there's gonna be a generation that thinks that this bullshit that Michael Bay put out is fucking Transformers.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. You
And-
notice
and
in the
here- and here
trailer,
we
though, Jazz is coming.
But it's not Jazz.
I
It's
know it's
they.
not.
It's freaking Mariah, and that pisses me off too because Jazz is one of my favorites.
Well, they killed
and
Jazz
it
already,
looks-
didn't
Yeah, in this movie, rips Optimus Prime's best friend in half in front of him. Prime doesn't go off. Okay, Michael.
they? No, these are horrible movies. But the thing with them, though,
Sad thing
They
is that's the
make
least offensive of
money,
the
dude. well, Shia LaBeouf's in it, so fair enough. It's already
yeah,
horrible.
fuck
But
him too.
these things make mad cash, dude. Mad cash. The amount of money they make, and this is why Grimlock. These are kid movies. These are for little
but I-
kids, and the mom and dad takes them to the movies. It's family movie day, and they make killer money. And
Yeah.
for what that is, fine.
And fuck Shia LaBeouf for making low testosterone a personality trait. You
Oh, he
fucking
he is quite
fuck.
good at that. You're right. Yeah, but he's a literally a troubled human in his brain. Stupid Newfie says nobody actually cares about the human characters. Just have a movie with robots like the opening of
Yeah,
Bumblebee. Yeah, I agree.
exactly, Newfie.
And
The
yeah,
opening of Bumblebee is exactly what every fucking Transformers fan wants.
hmm
They would go pay it 5 times over. You
right.
would make
And
for them complaining about budgetary constraints. If you just gave them the actual war on Cybertron, you
yeah,
would put up endgame numbers.
yeah,
You
just do
would.
a CG animated movie, dude. And Bumblebee is probably the best of these movies. To be honest with you.
Yeah, because they actually tried to tell a Transformers story.
Yeah. Yeah, but whatever. It's funny. And
Well,
I don't. But
I'll
here's the
say some
question
of the
though: is
comics,
Frank
and books
wrong
are
though?
better.
About yes, yes.
Number
Keep
10
going on the
But
action
list,
you're
and
movie of
I'll
the.
explain why. But
Okay.
yes, he is.
All right. All right. Though the one character I absolutely loved, and of course Bumblebee became kind of the hero, and everyone
Mascot.
loves the mascot, yeah. But that dude, the secret government agency guy, that actor,
Yep.
that Semitic actor, I can't remember his name. He's freaking
Toruto,
gold,
Yeah.
dude. What's his name?
Toruto, I think, something like that.
John
What's his name?
Toruto.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. He's freaking gold, dude. I love that guy.
He was he was good. I mean, I still one of the things I did not care for is I don't know who the fuck told Michael Bay that he's funny, but all the unnecessary comedy that he puts in his movies is just aggravating.
Will Smith told him. It was Will
Yeah.
Smith.
Yeah,
Probably
fuck
Will Smith.
It's Will
That
Smith.
would make
I,
sense.
I,
You're a real
I
funny
need to
man.
slap
I'm
Will
a
Smith.
comedian,
I
so I
need to
should.
slap Will Smith.
Yeah, slap Smith. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I need.
Anyway, it's interesting choice there, Frank. I see. I'm having a hard time saying he's wrong though. This was a mega hit, dude. I
It
don't
was.
understand people. I don't think you understand how much money these movies make. It's
I don't.
insane.
Unlike Grimlock, I don't hate the first Transformers movies. The first Transformer
Yeah, it's
movie.
okay. The first one.
I think it's fine, but it because I expected it to become much more Transformery after. I thought,
Yeah,
okay,
it
we
is good.
introduced everything. Here we go. Now we're gonna get much more into the the Autobots versus Decepticons. We're gonna get much more into it, and it just didn't. That's just not what happened.
Well,
So I gave it a pass for not being Transformers really. Because I thought we were getting there. Because at the end of the movie, he makes a big deal about calling everybody to Earth. So I'm like, okay, so we're gonna do it.
Well, dude,
And then
the last one was so convoluted. I couldn't even follow the plot, and I'm not what you would call a dullard.
The thing is, see, like you're saying, I say it's the least offensive of the movies.
Oh yeah.
But
Easy.
it's like you said, Chester. You're absolutely right because every movie after this contradicts everything that was established in the first movie is immediately contradicted in every movie afterwards.
Yeah, it's bad, dude. It's bad.
It's fucking retarded.
Yeah. Well, let's see what Frank has for number 9. You started off good one, Frank. You got him going, Frank. You got him going. All right, here we go. Number 9. Oh yeah, dude. This should be higher.
Yeah.
This should be
Pitch
higher.
Black's good. Is it an? I'd say. Well, yeah, I guess it is. It's an action horror movie.
Yeah,
I would say.
yeah, sci-fi. It's a little bit of everything,
Yeah,
but this
it's
movie's
really good.
freaking.
It's what
epic.
made him into a household name
It
right there.
is.
Vin Diesel.
It is. Made his career, dude. But yeah, no, Pitch Black should be higher. I mean, we'll see what we
Is
have
that
after
based
it.
off of something? Pitch Black? Is that based off a book or something? Because
I don't know.
it's
Probably most of
it's pretty interesting. Like there's some interesting ideas in there, especially his character. It's something I don't think you'd see Hollywood even consider today. Is trying something like Pitch
John
Black.
is trying to get Grimlock pissed off. It's funny. But yeah, the problem is when Frank is kind of right, we don't really have much to say, do we? Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is a good one. This is a good pick.
I hope you get your tongue stuck to a metal pole this winter.
I think I agree with you. This is probably a little higher. I really love the Pitch Black, and it's one of those movies that it almost became like a cult thing, right? Because it wasn't It's not like it was a mega blockbuster or whatever. It just
No.
happened.
It's a good
People
movie,
liked
though.
it, and it
Good
just
fun.
kept getting more and more popular over the years.
Yeah. And they tried to remake it with the third or fourth one, Riddick, whatever they called it. So it's basically a remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a fun movie. So we got number 8.
Yeah, it belongs on the list.
It's
Number 8, I don't know.
okay. I don't know if
I'll
it's
have to
an
see the rest of the
action
list.
movie though.
It's an action thriller, I'd
It's a
say.
sci-fi
Action
drama,
thriller.
I think. But
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, apparently he's casting a really wide net here. So, because I wouldn't consider Pitch Black an action movie. There's action in it,
no,
but
when I
it's
saw
far
it, I
more of
felt
a
that.
horror movie.
That's true.
Yeah.
What do you think about Minority Report there, Grimlock? Are we still traumatized from number 10?
Tom Cruise movie, and
Yeah, you already know.
so I've never seen this movie.
It's honestly, it's one of his more boring movies.
I'm gonna be honest. When I first saw when I first saw the title of that movie, I thought he was just going to be sitting in front of a camera reading black crime statistics for 2 hours. But
Fair.
Whatever.
And Tom could do it because he's the man.
But yeah, fuck that man lit.
Okay, fine. But
it's unironically one of the better punkish movies, though. Right?
It's
set
got
in
a
the
bit of
future.
cyberpunk
There's a
to it,
lot
doesn't
of
it?
a lot of cyberpunk themes, a little biopunk in there. Like it's got a lot of punk themes. I like Minority Report. I think it was one of Spielberg's last, decent at least movies.
It's not bad. I just don't know if it belongs on the list. Is all.
It's a tough one, right? Because there is a lot of action scenes in it. But I think I agree with you. I wouldn't. If I'm going to pick an action movie, Minority Report is not going to be on that list.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the problems is the age of action was long before the aughts. That's another issue. But whatever. I don't know what to think about this. So far, there's only one egregious thing on the list, and it's here.
Yeah, that movie.
Let's continue down here, number 7. All right, now I'm not going to complain about it. I hated these movies.
Really?
Yeah, I can't stand it. They're so fucking stupid. I understood it was a bit of a cultural moment, and everyone was into Kill Bill. I get it. And the fact that it has Lucy Liu in it, nothing but love.
Yeah, that's always a plus.
Uma
she makes the
Thurman,
world
not
brighter.
so much. I didn't like these movies at all. I thought they were it's like the worst, trashiest Tarantino ever, dude. Personally.
I haven't seen a couple of his recent films, so I can't say that for certain. Of his movies, I would say they are probably my least favorite, but I still like the action. The action is amazing. Very good action. Whoever was the director of that, the director of choreography, nailed it. Very good action. And that's what this list is supposed to be about. So if I'm going by purely an action movie, this movie was at the top of its game, at the top of the world when it came out, especially.
It was. Yep. I think one of the problems I had with it is it was just all over the place, dude.
It is, yeah.
Pick a lane.
I think that's by design with him, with Quentin, though. He likes to do that. He likes to be everywhere.
Well, like I said, I'm not going to complain about it because I understand the impact it had. What about you, Grimlock?
It's not going to remind anybody of Scorsese's, but it's fairly enjoyable. It also blows that stupid fucking argument about not liking female lead characters out of the water.
Well, dude, they blew that out of the water in the freaking 20s. The 20s.
I mean, yeah, we know
like
that.
100 years ago, 20s.
I know, but they've actually convinced at least a quarter of our retarded population that if it didn't happen in the Twitter era, it didn't happen. So,
what does that even mean?
They don't know.
They don't know. Yeah. I had another voice in there. Who is that?
That is Tower.
It's Tower. Hey, Tower. Have you ever seen Kill Bill? I mean, you probably weren't even born.
It sounds before my time. Probably. I've heard of it. I've heard of it. I've seen snippets, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Now here we have a Zoomer with us now.
That's right.
Please don't
I
call me
would
that.
say-
I don't affiliate with those retards.
Yeah.
I would say
I'm
this
not
Kill
quite-
Bill is one of
not
those movies that, because of a lot of it was really good marketing, the action was really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
But I think what got it over the line and made it such a big phenomenon was the soundtrack. That song, the songs that it used, the music that it used was so well put together for what was happening on the screen
Mhm.
that it just, I think it's so important. It's one of the things, I say it all the time, that probably the singular most important aspect, if you could do one, if you get one wrong, if you get the sound wrong, if you get the music wrong, your movie isn't going to succeed. There's never been a
that's fair.
great film, at least in the last, 70 years since they've been putting music in them, that didn't have an unbelievably good, if not amazing, soundtrack.
Yeah,
It
and
just doesn't
James Gunn
happen.
gets that. He gets that.
Yep.
Yeah. But like I said, I'm not going to add too much to this because I have my own biases. But the thing is that as Grimlock had mentioned, I bet you there must be a compiled list somewhere. The internet is the internet, and autism's the thing. But I bet you if you go from the 19th century until now, the entire history of cinema, right? I bet you there's more leading ladies than leading men.
It was like last night I was watching. You ever heard of the movie Decoy?
I have not.
It's an old crime noir. It was
sounds familiar, but anyway, continue.
with Gene Gilly.
Okay.
Interesting.
And she put the fatale and femme fatale in that movie because every person she encountered, every dude she encountered, she ended up getting them killed some way somehow.
Well, the funny thing is, in more recent times, we've seen we saw kind of during the 80s a little bit of lull in the female, not all, but as far as this amount of they were front and center, and now it's just this overreaction to it. But if you go back to the 20s, 30s, 40s, dude, there are leading ladies everywhere.
Especially in the noir genre, there was plenty of them.
Now that's a good point, Amron, and that is something that stands out. Well, we were talking about, but that's something that stands out with James Gunn quite a bit. Anyway, let's continue on.
That unfortunately died around the early 2000s.
This is the second movie on the list that I completely agree it was badass. But once again, is it an action movie, dude? This is a spy thriller. What are you talking about, Frank?
I just heard a blood vessel in Thundaro's head.
Well, it's the same. It's the same question that Chester's asking, because especially Casino Royale, it is the least actiony Bond movie there is. If you were talking about like go back into the '90s and talk about like Tomorrow Never Dies or The World Is Not Enough, those are just action movies. They're barely even spy thrillers. They're just action movies. But this one was a return to classic, almost the book version of Bond. Not quite. But it's much more of a thriller, much more cerebral. He's much less. Not that there's no action in it, because of course there is, but it's far more. I mean, the end of it is him getting swacked in the balls with a rope. Yeah. Like what are we talking about here?
Mads Mikkelsen, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is the best Daniel Craig Bond movie for sure,
absolutely.
without question.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then again, he's not really Bond. But anyway.
Also, my favorite theme from that era.
Very good. Yeah,
it is good.
Chris
again, soundtrack.
Well, speaking of Mads, the Mikkelsen, but they throw him in a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of stuff that fails. But when he does his own front and center stuff, they're really good. And one of the tropes you see in movies forever, even back in the noir era, you would see it, but it was because understand in the noir era was before all of the prohibition and the Christian Karens started pushing hard, and then by the 40s and 50s
and the commie shit.
Yeah, well, sure, and that stuff. By the 40s and 50s, you couldn't even have a husband and wife in the same bed together. I mean, what was the first TV show that changed that? Brady fucking Bunch. That's for how long that shit lasted. But back in the
and that was what,
era,
74.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, but I mean, during the noir era, they weren't as afraid. But one of the kind of tropes you see in movies over the history of movie making is two people in the act of making love and someone breaking in and the man shooting at someone whilst making love. Right? This is a very standard trope we've seen in so many movies. Right? The best ever of that trope is freaking Mads Mikkelsen in Polar. Damn, dude. Have you guys seen that movie?
No, I can't say that.
Oh, dude, it's a freaking masterpiece. Go watch Polar. It's beautiful, and they're coming out with a second one, even though it didn't really make money because it was so badass. I mean, you talk about fun. It's got a little bit of that Guy Ritchie feel to it, the way the story's being told. But Mads Mikkelsen, my God, that dude, damn. But go watch that. That's freaking awesome. It just came to my mind because of his ball slapping scene in this Casino Royale. But anyway, Frank, we need to talk, Frank. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
there you go.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
Yes, but that should be a lot higher on this list.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was.
In fact, it should be number one. It was for a time the most successful superhero movie ever made. Now that time didn't last because
even
the MCU
more than
came
Tim Burton's Batman. You think?
Oh, absolutely, it was.
Okay.
Financially,
this
it was humongous. The Dark Knight is one of the best big budget movies ever made. Period. Regardless of whether there's obviously smaller budget movies that are just better, but that typically is the case. Big budget movies are usually designed just to draw an audience. They're not necessarily designed to be cinema. This was the closest a blockbuster has come to cinema, I would say, to actual cinema. It's a fantastic movie from beginning to end, and the action's fantastic in it.
Well,
it's very well crafted, and there's absolutely no reason it should be number one. I'm very curious to what his number one's going to be. If it's what I think it is, I'll give him a pass. But this movie not only changed the landscape when it came to superhero movies because it was so successful, it changed the landscape of Hollywood in general. And if it wasn't for Heath Ledger killing himself, accidentally,
sure. Well,
he would have become a megastar. He would have been the next, he would have been up there with the next. Pick a guy.
Yeah. But to be fair, the way the list is going, I'm sure number one is The Shawshank Redemption. So
that's not a 2000s movie.
Anyway, but I'm not the hugest fan of Nolan's Batman, but there are some absolutely amazing moments in all of them. There really are.
Yeah.
So you can't. It's hard to argue with it, really.
I would say the best moment in the entire trilogy is in the first one, right at the end, where Gordon says, "Did I ever thank you?" And Batman says, "You'll never have to." Perfect.
Yeah, no,
at that moment, I said, "Oh, he gets Batman." Okay,
Yeah,
I understand. I get it now. He got it.
But the problem with this movie is the best character in it is Michael Caine.
That's true.
Yeah.
But that's just because he's Michael Caine.
It's true.
He's
typically
the best character in any movie he's in.
It is fair. It is fair. Even the bad ones, especially the bad ones.
Yes.
Anyway, let's see what we got for number 4 here. Okay. All right.
Yep.
I'm surprised it's not number 1, to be honest with you.
I would put it a little higher for my personal taste because
it's such a good movie. It really
I
is.
put it in, number 1. Right?
Not only that, but it's also one of the best to me because we've talked about how many times Batman's origin has been done in the movies, Spider-Man's and Superman's origin has been done in the movies, but this one for an origin movie was so well done.
Oh, it was beautiful. Good fun.
Killed it.
Great movie.
Yeah.
As far as popcorn flicks go. Yeah, no, it definitely belongs on this list, and not much to say about it.
And it literally took all of that movie to have everybody who doubted whether Downey Jr. could pull off Tony Stark.
Yep.
By the end of that movie, everybody's like, "That's Tony Stark."
Yep. No, it included me because I thought it was a weird choice.
Yeah.
But
so did I. But by the end of that movie, I'm like, he's Tony Stark.
Because the thing is, for us older people, Robert certainly went through his very hard time with drugs and alcohol and stuff, and good for him that he cleaned himself up and got himself straight. Good for him, right? But those of us who know Robert Downey, he played the kind of love interest type of character. He was not, it was more of a romantic drama guy, or even a rom-com guy than an action hero. Such a weird thing. Now, I know the younger people like Tower, I don't know if he's still here, but for them, it's like, oh, yeah, he's a great action hero. But for us older people, it's not at all what he was. I mean, you were talking about a complete role reversal here with Iron Man.
Hey, look, I'm aging myself here. I just remember him being the little douchey motherfucker in Weird Science.
He did.
Chester.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm in that age group where Robert Downey Jr. is and will always be Iron Man. Johnny Depp is Captain Jack Sparrow, and every single Adam Stanley movie I think of like Happy Gilmore. That's my generation.
Yeah, no, and fair enough. I'm just saying that when they announced him, a lot of us were like, "That's a weird choice." It's kind of like choosing who's that sexy English guy that all the women are just absolutely mad about? What's his name there?
Which one? Chris Hemsworth or
No, the English guy.
Oh,
the older English guy.
Fuck.
No, he's older. You don't even know who he is, dude.
Pierce Brosnan.
No, he's no English, British.
Do you mean
Pierce Brosnan's not British?
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. What's his name? The Notting Hill guy. English. Notting Hill. He was in Notting Hill.
I don't know I can't think of his name, but he means English, and he keeps saying British because Chester's a boomer, and he doesn't, for some reason, keeps getting them mixed up.
Well, I said British to broaden it a little. But goddamn, what's his name? Someone in the chat help me. The Notting Hill guy. But that guy, for me, choosing no, god damn it, dumb's the name. Although I do love Jeremy Irons. Ben, help me out. Oh, Hugh Grant. Thank you, Ben. Oh, thank God. Hugh Grant.
It's kind of like, want you to know I knew exactly who you meant.
I like how he just like lets you twist in the wind. He's like, yeah, Hugh Grant.
That's Ben.
I just want you to know, Chester, I knew exactly who you meant. I was gonna say Grant for you, but I just love to watch you squirm, so I just let it go.
But sometimes. But Hugh Grant, it's kind of like choosing Hugh Grant to play Tony Stark is how it felt, right? Although I saw Hugh Grant in a very weird role for him recently in Guy Pearce's The Gentleman, which is his freaking opus, dude. Go watch that. If you haven't seen The Gentleman, it is the best movie he's ever made. It's freaking spectacular, dude. Spectacular. And Hugh Grant plays a character in that you would never imagine him playing. I mean, it's almost you worry if it will, it will mar his image a little bit. But that movie is spectacular. Dude.
It's interesting because Hugh Grant to me sounds like a movie star name. Like he just was born. I don't know if that's his real name or what, but if he was and that's his actual birth name, he was just born for this. Hugh, it just sounds like a movie star. I don't know, just has the ring to it.
And Hugh's great at what he does. But and that movie, for all of you who like to pick on the reconnaissance, dude, he freaking eats it up in that movie. Oh my God, it's such a good movie. The Gentleman, go watch it, especially if you like Guy Pearce stuff. You like his kind of his style of movies. It's just spectacular, dude. Anyway, moving on. Number 3. Oh, fuck you, Frank.
I mean, it was the biggest movie of pretty much all time until recently.
Action movie, dude. In no way.
I don't know. What is it then?
It's a drama.
I guess
it's got a little bit of action in it. It's got a little bit. It's very boring. It's got a little bit of action in it. It's got a little bit of fantasy in it. It's got a little bit of sci-fi, but it's a drama.
I still don't understand why this movie was so popular. I have no idea. Nobody can explain it to me. They're like, "But it was really pretty." Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's pretty.
And
it is pretty.
And
yeah, and the new.
I just don't get it. I've never understood it. Even when it was out and it was blowing up and breaking every record there was, I didn't understand. I was like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it and I was like,
okay. Well, it's awesome. They'll go watch it. Yeah. Is it not Guy Pearce? Did I say Guy Pearce? Did I mean Guy Ritchie? I meant Guy Ritchie.
You did mean Guy Ritchie. I was wondering.
Guy Ritchie. I do apologize.
I do like Guy Ritchie movies.
One of the
actually.
guys.
But he's one of those directors that has his own style and he sticks to it. And I like.
Yeah, he does. He does. And this movie is the magnus opus of his style. It's freaking awesome, dude. My wife and I were watching. We were like, "Damn, dude." Yeah, because Guy Ritchie movies are usually just fun little romps.
Yeah.
Right. And this has that element to it, but it's more. Yeah.
Well, that's been the
Guns
problem
Name,
so far.
yes, that
Guns
would be an
Name,
action movie. Yeah, but Frank
The
doesn't know what
actual
action
action
are.
movies.
Guns Name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The actual action movies are not here.
They're not
Like,
here.
where are they all?
Like, where's Crank? Crank, please.
Oh my gosh, Crank is so much fun. It's so
It is
stupid,
so
but
stupid,
it's
but
so
it's
much fun.
great. How about Shoot 'em Up? That's from this era, isn't it?
Yep.
That's
Pretty much
another very
Jason
crank-ass
Statham's
movie.
whole early career could be on this list.
Yeah, but those are action movies. I mean, shit, Shoot 'em Up. I can't remember that actor's name, but he's a cool actor. But in that movie, it never stops. He's
right.
literally running and shooting the entire damn movie. I don't think there's a lull. No, there isn't. There isn't a lull.
Yeah, it just keeps going. He's the
keeps
Energizer
going,
Bunny.
even in the end. And don't, and you better not think carrots are not deadly, because they are. Anyway, let's see what number 2 is from Frank here. Okay, all right. No, all right. These are spy thrillers, but they are heavily action intensive.
Yes. Well, the first trilogy is. That last one that came out recently was basically just a walking simulator.
Yeah, right.
It's just him walking around. Holy cow. Yeah. I had a feeling this would be near the top. Any of the Bourne movies, really. The Bourne trilogy, the original one.
It's fair enough.
Bourne Identity, a really good movie. It's because of the Bourne movies that we got Daniel Craig's Bond. And unfortunately, they rode that for too long and didn't realize it was a fad. But I say, yeah, I don't know if I'd put it number 2. I definitely wouldn't put it above The Dark Knight. That's nonsense talk.
No.
Or Iron Man. That's also
category.
Nonsense talk.
Spy thriller, sure. But it is action heavy. It's super action heavy, dude.
Yes. It's more action heavy than Casino Royale, I'd say.
Way more. 1,000 times
Yeah.
more. Yeah. And Matt Damon did a really good job with him, to be honest with you.
He did.
You know?
He did. He killed it.
Not much.
Which he usually does.
Yeah,
he usually does.
I wish he didn't bring that jackass along with him.
Well, he's his buddy. You know how it is.
Yeah,
Takes his buddy with him.
Well, anyway, you got Graham Malaki. You ready to see what number 1 is?
Oh no!
Oh God! Drum roll, please.
It better be what I think it is. It better be what I think it is.
Oh my!
Let's see if it's what.
Oh my
Are you?
God.
What?
Frank.
What?
Frank. Oh, Frank. There's the
Frank!
aneurysm. The left eye is twitching.
Oh, Frank. Now I have no problem with Taken being on the list, but number 1.
I'm legitimately surprised at that. It's not. I honestly thought he was going to put a Fast and Furious movie in that top spot.
You could have.
He should have.
Yeah.
Should have. Yes.
But
Let's
that
fix
one,
this real quick here.
Yeah, that's a surprise.
That is top action movies of the 2000s. Let's see. I don't know. IMDb is a bit weird when you look at these, but anyway, Training Day, not an action movie. Gladiator, maybe.
No, that's a great drama, but
it's
not
an awesome drama. Once again, Gladiator, more drama. 3:10 to Yuma, drama. Did I click the right thing? Okay. Drama. King Kong. District 9,
Ish.
no.
Ish.
No.
Black Hawk Down.
Yes. Definitely
Yes.
no. Yes. What? Oh my God, these people are out their goddamn mind. Dog Soldier is awesome. Be fair.
Here's the Sun's good.
Yeah. But action movies.
Oh
dude,
yeah,
action.
wow.
How
That
about-
one ignored? Wait,
How about Pirates of the
Spider-Man
Caribbean
ignored?
wasn't
Yeah.
on there? How about the Spider-Man trilogy wasn't on there? How about
Rambo?
the second
Rambo.
Mummy movie wasn't on there? How about oh God, the Matrix, the part 2 and 3, the Matrix wasn't on there. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Blade
it's
what
a
are we
weird
doing
up
list,
there?
Frank. Yeah, it's a weird. This is his weirdest, I think.
How is Blade? Yeah, how did Blade 2 miss the list?
Yeah, Taken. Okay, fine. Layer Cake. Yeah, Layer Cake's a good movie.
I'm
dude.
not. I'm not saying that Taken's not a good movie,
This
but
is a great movie, by the way. Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah,
It is more
that could've been
action. To be
V
fair.
for Vendetta. There,
Yeah.
there's another one.
Yeah. Mission Impossible. None of them on there. Should have been. They're good action movies. Of course.
The X-Men movies.
X-Men
Yep.
movies. Serenity.
Serenity. I
Star
loved it.
Trek is the
No,
the JJ1 is more of
not an
action
action
based.
movie.
Definitely not an action movie. Yeah.
But yeah,
What
I mean,
happened?
So now we know where old Frank gets his list from
who
fucking
counted?
IMDb.
Somebody
What
doesn't know how to count.
what happened here?
Do you have a blocker
Oh yeah,
on it?
Dave is right. Punisher. How did Punisher not be on the list?
Yep,
Either Punisher
Punisher.
movie.
I have no idea
There was
what
a whole
happened.
plethora of
Sin,
superhero movies that didn't make it somehow.
Sin
But
City, another one.
yeah, no, there's a ton.
300? 300?
300.
Yeah,
What are you
no,
doing, Frank?
I don't know.
Frank,
Frank doesn't
I
understand.
think he watches this show and he does this just to piss us off. I
think
really
he
do.
does. I
Because
do.
there's no
I
way.
do. Agree.
There's no way one man can be this wrong all the time and not be in purpose. There's no way.
Unbelievable, dude. And I got to move
Look,
away from
you-
this 'cause
you-
this pissed me off
you-
now.
You knew when Transformers started the list the kind
I
of
knew.
fuckery you was in for.
I knew. That's okay, Amron. We know it's wrong. We don't need proof, Amron. But anyway, Frank, let's move on though, because I'm getting tight on time. So, but they're always entertaining. Frank's lists always make us chatter and have fun. Anyway, go ahead.
Andrew Tate claims the people in charge of the Western world and the Matrix genuinely worship Satan.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I'd
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
Well,
Seems about
no,
right.
I feel I have to correct Mr. Tate. But I don't know much about this fella. I know he was some kind of fighting champion of some kind, and he's very particular about the type of women that he wants, and therefore he is canceled. That's all I really know about Tate. Can someone illuminate me a bit?
Well, let's see. He's a extremely successful businessman who lives in Eastern Europe.
Mhm.
He said some quote egregious things about the Womans.
Like what?
And
Captain Cannon, Equilibrium. Oh my God, that's such a great movie. Sorry. Go ahead.
that's a good movie. I think the one that triggers most people is he said that a wife is the husband's property, and that he said his sister is the property of her husband. That one really seems to trigger people. But he clarified what he meant is he doesn't mean property like a car or a house. He just means responsible for it, because he's talking about it like in a religious context. I knew what he meant because I'm not a simpleton who looking to be outraged, because that's exactly how I think about it. My wife is my property because I'm responsible for her.
Well, he chose the wrong word then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much, it's stuff like that, right? He has takes like that where he said things like that, and then he said some things about the coof. You know, he doesn't believe that the coof is as big a deal as they're pretending it is.
Well, that's what got him then, right there.
But I think what really got him canceled is this dude was the most popular person in the world for a little while, because he basically came up with this social media marketing campaign to have other people take his content and spread it all over TikTok, and he wouldn't strike it. He wouldn't do anything for it. But he did that to try and take, and YouTube too, to try and take over the algorithm as much, and he succeeded at it for months.
Yeah, okay.
And because of that, he was spreading that message, which a lot of people didn't like. They called it misogyny, of course. But he was also spreading a message of men need to work hard. Men's life is supposed to be struggle. You're supposed to take care of yourself and your family. You're not supposed to strive for happiness. Happiness is supposed to be a consequence of the struggle, of the work. And
that's true.
He was spreading this message, a very positive message to young men that a lot of young men, I think, genuinely need to hear. And he was doing it very effectively and on the loudest in all the platforms all at once. I think that's what got him banned. I think the powers that be don't want that message out there. They want men right where they got them and underneath their thumb, and they didn't want somebody out here telling them they didn't have to live that.
I see. So he took one of those multicolored pills. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the simple fact of the matter is, whenever women want something, they get it.
That's
right? And of course they do. The whole point of what we do is build infrastructure in society for the woman. That's what men do. I think the only message I would give to men is this: never misunderstand the fact that in the end you have to fix it.
That's right.
That's it. Doesn't matter who says what or what women get up and what empowerment and go girl. It doesn't. None of that matters. They can do whatever they want to do. They're free to do that. In the end, when shit hits the fan, You, the male, need to fix it because in the end, it's always us. So that's the only thing that matters. Just understand that it is your responsibility to straighten the ship. And maybe that's what he's trying to say. But anyway, I'm talking about more the Satan thing. That's what caught my mind, and the fact that he is kind of a topic du jour, right?
Mhm.
But no, Mr. Tate, they don't worship Satan. What they do is they worship Janus.
That's right.
Yeah. And I chose this particular representation of Janus than the standard one for a very particular reason because of the Cernunnos connection, right? But
Mhm.
this is much more standard Janus imagery, the man and the female. But of course, speaking of Janus and putting him forward, or Janus or Janus or Jehovah, they don't
Nope.
really talk about that much because they don't want you knowing that. So the term that they tend to use is his more modern representation of Kronos, or more importantly Saturn. So
Yep.
they're Saturnists. They're not actually Satanists.
Yeah.
I don't know why I felt that needed to be clarified, but I really felt it needed to be.
It needed to be. The world
It
needs to
needed to
know.
be. Yeah.
I actually watched some of this because this was from a stream that's his brother next to him that he and his brother did,
His brother's
and
way prettier guy than him, though. It's interesting.
his brother's a very good looking man. It's silly, and bigger than him, and that's his younger brother, and he's considerably larger. But anyway, they were talking about a little bit of that. That was just some tangent he went off on, basically, like he just went off on this little rant. But I honestly think the reason why Mr. Tate got canceled, he's correct in his assessment, is that he was inspiring young men to become obsessed with success and excellence, which is not something our culture does. Our
So the
culture does the
Jordan
exact
Peterson
opposite.
effect. Okay.
Yeah. But he was doing it in a much more aggressive way,
Right.
and he was actually being more successful. See, Jordan, I don't have, it's not even about whether I have beef with Jordan. Jordan doesn't motivate like people think he does. He might motivate people to think about their problems more, but Tate was actually motivating people to get to work. And
Yeah, no,
people
he
work
motivates the
all over the
conversation.
world.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
And it's true. As a man, go out there, get yourself in shape, make yourself valuable. I mean,
That's right.
what I've heard this many times, and this is we talked about how the MGTOW has shifted into that, right?
Yep.
And that's a good thing because I don't understand the problem. As a man, you need to get out there and you need to get yourself in shape, get yourself healthy, make yourself valuable to a woman, just simply visually, but also, build up your career and build yourself up. You have no choice, gentlemen. Women have options, dude. Gay men have options. I would say
That was
certain
one
other
of his
minority
points
groups
too.
have options. You don't have options. You
Yep.
either get it done or
That
you
was
don't.
that was one of his broader points too, because he would say this was one of his famous ones. He would say that when you look at people on this $100 million yacht, the man had to work his entire life to get on that boat. He had to bust his ass and build himself up and do all sorts of things to take unbelievable risk to get on that boat. All the woman had to do was be really pretty.
That's right. That's right. And just to be clear, you only need $80,000 to $100,000 to buy a yacht. You don't.
Oh, don't tell Chester. That's how these ugly guys get women. They don't know.
Oh, fair.
Shh.
Fair. No, I want
Don't
them all to
tell
be
'em.
successful. I actually want them to. But this is, I do like where it shifted because the MGTOW
Me
thing,
too.
when it initially started whining and blaming, no, fuck off, dude. Get off your goddamn ass, get in shape, and make yourself valuable just for your own happiness. And then,
Another one of his
things
points.
will come to you.
Yep.
It's
He
very
said,
clear.
okay, so you're
It's
not
not
good
about
looking.
women at
So
all, dude.
you're not genetically gifted. You're not 6 foot tall. You're not good looking.
Who
You don't have a
cares?
good skeleton. That's fine, but you can still be scary. You can still be intimidating. You can still be somebody of presence,
Mhm.
and that's what attracts a woman just as much as being a pretty boy. If
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are somebody who grabs everyone's attention when you walk into a room,
That's right.
that includes women. They're going to give you their attention.
Absolutely.
It's just
And if
that
you throw a
simple.
little comedy on top of it and you're a little bit funny,
Yeah,
oh my God. Oh my
yeah.
God. Yeah. But
Panties will be
no,
flying across the room
that's true.
like a slingshot.
Like slingshots. Yeah, no, but I love the shift that it's gone in that direction because the conversation that these dudes, these, what do I call them, red pillars? Is that what they are?
Basically.
they've taken women out of the equation, and they're
Correct.
right. It has nothing to do with women at all, dude. It has to do with you. And that's what Jordan Peterson was trying to tell you too. It's about you. Clean your goddamn room, make your bed. Every morning, make your bed. How hard is
Oh,
that? Take
you
a
should want
moment.
to scare women. You should want to scare women. I'm telling you this right now. If a woman is not a little bit afraid of you, she will never respect you. Now that doesn't mean you're ever
Oh
going to
no,
hurt her. Doesn't even mean you're ever going to threaten to hurt her. But she should know in her brain somewhere that the physical capability is within you to cause harm.
Oh
And if
yeah.
she doesn't,
Oh yeah.
she's not going to look at you with respect.
You should be. I've never really listened to this Tate guy, but if he's saying that, he's right. You should
Yes.
absolutely have a certain fear factor to you, without question. Because fear factor does a couple things. One, it shows your seriousness to any situation,
Correct.
and two, yes, it gets women's major attention. Once again, we mentioned 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah. Why was that just
Yep.
a mega hit? For a reason. Women have those fantasies, right? But also, it's just for dealing with men. If a man doesn't
right.
see that you could potentially be a threat, then why would he even take a moment to listen to a word you say?
Yep.
I mean, so
True.
I don't know this Tate guy, but from what I'm hearing so far, in general, he's not wrong. But I
not.
just thought it would, this right here is really everything. And these jackass, people, these rich people who believe that their bloodlines are connected to the gods. Who knows? Maybe they were, but they're not now. And they
No.
keep trying to copy. They keep trying to copy the things that the quote unquote gods used to do, like drinking blood, eating people, children, particularly various other untoward sexual activities with the minors.
That's right.
They're emulating these things. And I've told you guys this before. If you really study into the various secret societies, like, the high level Masons, Rosicrucians, or whatever, you go into the Jewish mysticism and all that kind of stuff. Everything in the world, when you get into the high levels of their teaching, it all comes down to that absolutely rabid disregard for human respecting humanity in all its manners, and they're emulating something from the ancient past that they think will give them power. It clearly doesn't. They all die, so it's not working. But they keep doing it. They're emulating something from the past, and this is the secret name, 11. Here he is, the one and the last, the Alpha, the Omega. Okay, anyway. But let's move on here. I got a couple of things to get into. This right here, it just makes me laugh, though. Ben should be here for this one.
Oh, I wish Ben was here for this one because this is just silliness. Dungeons and Dragons to remove term race from game lexicon due to its prejudiced links between real world and fantasy peoples. Now, how far are we going with this D&D? Are we not allowed to even have races, as in like foot races? Like, are we not allowed to do nothing?
You can't use that word.
Like a dungeon master can't come up with something crazy where you have to outrun in a race some monster or it'll kill you. No, well, can't use race.
Of course, the reason why it's so funny is because who cares? The way that tabletop role playing is done, you can do whatever you want. They have no power or control at all over anything, just simply whether people buy their books or not. And the funny thing is shifting away from the concept of class and race and the various other ancient mechanics of D&D. We've gaming systems have moved on away from that decades ago, dude. Decades. Where they have moved away from the concept of class and race, not for ideological reasons, just simply for making the games better. Decades ago. So what you're behind the times here, Dungeons and Dragons, for one. But here's the thing, Grimlock, tell me, they've replaced the word race. What do you think they've replaced it with? Would you like to guess? Would you like to guess?
I'm afraid of whatever faggotry they have come up with.
Go ahead. Use your logic brain.
Uh-oh. Not the logic brain.
You're asking me to apply logic to these people.
No, I'm asking you to apply logic to reality. If you're going to choose another word other than race, what would you pick? Wow. I stumped him.
I usually don't because I really, that's something I just really don't. I wish they would just stop with. I'm really tired of that whole fucking conversation.
Yeah, no, and I laugh at it because it doesn't matter. You do whatever you want. Species. is the word they chose. And
Of course they did.
of course they did.
So they
Uh,
completely dehumanized
which is
them.
somehow worse.
Completely.
Ben, you're right. Which is somehow worse. The speciesism is a thing, right? Speciest. But the funny thing about it is, if you go back and you look at the actual etymology and the use of the word from day one, Gary Gygax should have used the word species anyway.
Yep.
He really should have, because they're not races, are they? They're different species.
Well, it's funny because the term race isn't even really race as we understand it.
No, it's
and
not,
it's we only really use it because people don't want to be called breed because that sounds like dogs. But I mean that's more apropos.
It's more
would be
accurate,
to call each other breed. Yeah.
We're breeds, yeah. But people don't like that word, even though we're more bred than dogs are. Nevertheless, it's funny because it doesn't matter. People are going to do what they want to do anyway. The only thing you're
Yes.
doing is affecting your personal sales. This is why things like the Cortex system and the Cipher system and even the a more kind of mundane the Fate system have kind of taken over the role playing world. Because 5e has its value, especially if you're a brand new player and you've never played a role playing game before. It's very basic and easy to use, and that's its value. And to be fair, 5th edition has brought a lot of new people into the gaming sphere, and that's a good thing. But they are falling behind, and mechanically, like I said, the concept of the limitations of using the word class and race have been removed decades ago by other systems, and they are a better choice. Right now I'm running a Cortex system game, which is from Margaret Weiss, and her system is great. I personally think it is the best role-playing system because of the versatility and what it allows you to do. But we're playing it and we'll see how it works in the long run. But it's just they're so silly is the word that comes to my mind. Silly. As if species is a better word than race.
It's not. It's not a better word.
Ben. It's ridiculously not.
Well, and it still is limited in its scope. Like I really like what Pathfinder did with using ancestry because
Yeah, there you go.
With the combinations. Well, yeah, because like, and the really nice thing about Pathfinder is really easy to do combos of being like, I'm a halfling tiefling, right? You can be, or like a halfling, air elemental or something like that.
Sure.
And so the concept of an ancestry, like no one thing can encapsulate who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am a multitude of factors. Look, all humans are, right?
Sure. That's a great word choice too.
It is, and I think the only reason they didn't go with it is because they're like, Pathfinder did it, and they didn't want to be seen as like copying Pathfinder.
Probably.
But that's really the good choice of terminology to use that is more modern and really kind of reflects where the games are going.
Well, isn't that what most anthropologists use nowadays instead of race? Like they just use ancestry?
Well, because it is more accurate, especially with genetics have shown us that everybody is hybrid. Every living human is a hybrid, so yeah, it's a better word. We are, but the interesting thing though, Ben, is we know that 6th edition is coming, or advanced or expert or whatever they call it. It's coming sooner than later. You would think they would kind of have waited for that drop, because what they could have done was gone. I don't know. Do I want to say fate led the way on this, but they might want to go that route where you simply use descriptors, which is even more vague than ancestry, that allows you to do whatever you want, like with Cipher or Fate or Cortex. You're describing your character. They're not limiting you by you have to be this class or that class, or even have to figure out how do I multi-class. No. You're just expressing what your character is, and then we put mechanics behind that. This has been going on for decades, right? This is nothing new. And you would think that D&D has a certain responsibility to certain D20 mechanics. I understand that. However, you would think they would have kind of at least parceled that into the 6th edition in some way, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's this thing that they do every once in a while where they're trying to do the right thing, or they're trying to do something they think is the right thing, and then they end up just screwing it up in a whole new and different way.
Pretty bad.
Because already on the Twittersphere, there's a lot of people who don't like this change because they don't like the implications that everyone's like a completely different species, right? And so it is appeasing no one and just kind of pissing off everyone, both from the left and right perspective. And so it's like, so like they've really just done nothing. They've tried to go 2 steps forward and they took 3 steps back instead.
They did.
Right.
Would you like a deep cut, Ben?
Sure.
If you really want to get into the argument that we're not all different species but the same species, you need to go to Star Trek.
God, that was a
good one, Ben. That was a good one.
Yeah, that is a good cut. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I saw this and I was like, the thing that smacks the most of it though is like them trying to copy Pathfinder and just like falling on their face miserably, right? Yeah. Because in second edition of Pathfinder, they moved away from race as well, and they moved to ancestry, and
which is a great word. It's so fantasy role playing, dude. It's great.
It is. It totally is, and everyone loved it. Nobody hated it. They didn't get any crap for it. It appeased the left and the right. Everyone was like, "Yeah, that makes sense," right? Sure, you might have done it for woke reasons, but hey, it works, right?
It does.
And then Wizards of the Coast does this, and everyone's like, "Nah, boo, boo." So they're just getting
dumb, dude. It's dumb.
Yeah, it is. It's totally dumb.
And another thing that D&D is forgetting, and it kind of locks them in the box, unfortunately. I think the only choice they have is to keep with tradition or just do something completely new and radical, right? But I have a feeling that the simple the TM of it will keep them from doing that, because D&D by its being, keep in mind that Gary Gygax's original chainmail creation was to facilitate board game miniature wargaming in a more compact, smaller situation is what he was trying to do. But it has evolved way past that. But because of the system that Gygax put in place, basically you're choosing boxes, right? And by definition, this limits you. And other systems like, hey, we can make money in this market, and trying to create new systems, they have the freedom to get out of the box.
Yeah,
and they have done that. So I have a feeling, even we know this is just from dumbasses here, but D&D itself is kind of stuck in a catch-22, don't you think?
Really?
How do they get out of it, though?
They allow themselves to reinvent themselves, right?
They did that once, and we almost murdered them.
Are you talking about 4th edition?
Yes, I am.
You're talking about 4th edition.
No, I'm talking about 4th edition, sir. Yes.
But that was like moving, like that was trying to reinvent the wheel in the wrong direction, because they were trying to make it into a video game, right? And we don't want a video game. We want a tabletop role playing game. A tabletop role playing game is not a video game, right?
That's true.
You might want to reinvent the wheel of a TTRPG to make it a video game, but you don't go the other way around. That's just stupid, right? And that was their big mistake there, right? Mm-hmm. I think the more interesting question is, because they announced this and they said, we worked with cultural consultants, and it's like, and this is what they came up with. And it's like, who were you working with? Who came up with this idea? Well, it's a bad idea.
This girl, then at the bar we all go to, her name's Anna, and she's a transgender, and she has opinions.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's about right.
About the level of expertise they probably look for.
Oh my God, Ben! When I saw it, it just made me laugh. I mean,
for listeners, I'd like them to know I disavow these comments.
Of course he does. But no, I'm just saying it made me laugh because it's worse. It's worse.
It is. It is worse. And that's kind of the crazy thing, right? Is that they tried to go, and frankly, I see the direction they've gone, and I don't disagree with it, but they ended up, landing on their face. Like they made it worse somehow.
They always do. Yeah, they always do.
They tend to.
Yeah,
they tend to.
Well,
why didn't they ask? I wonder if they're cultural experts. I wonder if any of those were forensic anthropologists or people who actually would be experts on how people groups are divided.
Dude, I'm telling you. But no, of course they didn't speak to anyone who has any kind of actual intelligence in their head, because it doesn't apply. You're missing the whole concept. orcs, right? Back to the orc argument, who are I don't know.
God.
It's incredibly racist to just assume orcs are black. I think, and I'm sure Grimlock is offended. However, the thing is, when we're playing a game, we need to have certain things simplified for simple efficiency, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, we're going to be here 10 hours and we haven't got out of the bar yet. No, we need to make things flow and efficient. As a DM or a GM, you're constantly looking for ways to improve the flow so that you can put more into a shorter amount of time. And the simple idea that this is a bad thing, thus the orc, is a simple thing that everyone recognizes. Oh, there's orcs. Major potential damage and danger coming your way. Now, it doesn't mean you can't make an interesting character who is not the typical orc. We saw them do so Laurie, what was the guy's name that took Dritz Duerden? He took a drow and he made him a good guy, right?
Salvatore.
Salvatore. Thank you.
Yeah, Salvatore. Yeah.
Salvatore made a perfect use of that because the drow are bad guys. When you see a drow, they're bad guys. Your party automatically knows bad guys, right? But you can pull the individual out, as you can in real life, because stereotypes only apply to the general group, right? And you pull that person out, and you can tell a really intriguing story, which he did with Dritz Duerden, who is one of the most famous, nameable characters in D&D history. Choose another character who people know more readily than Dritz Duerden. Anybody?
So I'm gonna both agree with you and disagree with you at the same time, because I'm just complicated like that, right? Yeah. And so I'm gonna agree with you in that. I think this conversation causes like decision paralysis, because people then are under the impression like I can't have any bad guys, right? It's just humans only, right? And that's not the case, right? You can totally have people be bad. You can have elves be bad guys, orcs be bad guys. There has to be, there, as long as there's like an externality, right? Is it a cultural thing? It's like the Drow's a good example, right? There's a religious thing, right?
It's
Dritz, yeah, and so there is an externality that explains them. There's a lore reason for why they are, and Dritz is the counter to that, because he didn't buy into their religion, buy into their, their brainwashing to a certain degree, right? And so, that's the only thing that you kind of need is like, why are they like this? Maybe it's like a cultural thing, like they're like Vikings and they like to do raids or something like that, right? That's fine, right? So I think that's just all you need is just to have a moment thought for that, and then it's fine.
Right, and you're of course you're correct in that. You can do anything you want in that regard, and keep in mind with the Drow they are connected to Loth or her original name, but whatever. And it is very religious. But however, where they get off the rails and where they're silly is here. You can take a group of humans and you can have them either be good guys or bad guys, right? Without any question whatsoever. But as soon as some other species comes into account, now we have to think about how we're affecting the world of humans. It's dumb, dude. Why would it change from one argument to the next? Why are humans fair play, but yet orcs are not?
I got a question, because I've never played D&D.
Go for it.
Since they seem to be intent on making this mountain out of a molehill.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Why not just get rid of the terminology altogether? Since they're going to make an issue out of this for some fucking reason, and nobody asked them to. What get rid of the terminology altogether because of
race, species,
the racist classes, racist classes, whatever.
There's a lot of people
because when you create a character, I'm sure you guys will correct me on this because I don't know. You're describing what the character is at the beginning of the game anyway. So whatever the description you make of the character, then that's what it is.
Right, and so that's why the modern
all the other stuff is just unnecessary fluff at that point.
That's what Chet was describing with the modern systems like Fate and stuff like that. They have removed it, right? That's the argument that Chet's been making, is that D&D is like obsolete. It is captured. Yeah, it is captured by its own history. It is held hostage by its own lore and tradition. Now, kind of true But I think where we see that kind of fall apart a little bit is like Pathfinder breaks away from it, and they do just fine,
Yeah,
right?
but they were doing their own thing with the open gaming license
Totally.
with D20, and they did. And give praise to Paizo, because they started. It was just literally a D&D clone, but over time they've made their own thing out of it. And
Absolutely.
so full credit to Paizo. But my point being is that D&D, because it's Dungeons and Dragons, is really stuck, I think, because they should drop it completely. They should really move toward a more fate-based system, and a genius one. I mean, they should really be pouring it over and come out with this, just for all of us, and we'll just see it and we're like, wow, why didn't I think of that? That's what they should be doing. But they're stuck, dude.
I think they just need a new creative control, like a new creative czar or something like that, right? 'Cause
Maybe.
there's always somebody who's sort of in control of creative for them, right? And then they're the one who kind of oversees a lot of the mechanics and a lot of the lore and stuff, right? And I think they just need somebody who's a little bit more modern in their thinking, right? And uses more
Or innovative.
modern game. Yeah, innovative, right? So, but that's all it takes is somebody at the helm, right? Because
No, you need. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's usually like one dude. I mean, they have a lot of people working and stuff, but there's usually one dude who oversees both lore and mechanics, right? That's just generally how.
Well, and we've seen this happen before in D&D itself. For instance, Monty Cook and Margaret Weiss get a lot of love for the things they did, and others, Arnson and
Right.
stuff like that. But the two, I think personally, most important people for the success of D&D never get remembered. I can't even remember the damn name. Who are the two guys that took it and made the Mystara when they were splitting off and creating the AD&D? When Guy Gex and his people were doing that, and they kept the D&D, the standard D&D moving with the Mystara stuff. Who are those two guys?
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. God, I can't remember their names.
I can't either, and we should, because they are some of the most instrumental dudes in the actual tabletop role-playing world. What they did and how they've
come up with a lot of the more most modern mechanics and stuff.
They did,
right?
dude.
So.
Yeah, a lot of, and of course they carried it on, like in second edition, third edition, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's really interesting because they're doing the 6E or 5.5. I forget what they're calling it. I've looked at some of the rules, and it really just feels like they're going, hey, people really like feats from Pathfinder Second Edition, so we're going to just give you a whole bunch of feats now.
Oh, bring that back. Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. So now, because I don't know if you've read the rule set, but it is a lot more feats than you get in 5th edition.
Yeah. No, I saw it, dude. It's weird, and it kind of falls in. It kind of molds into the same conversation we're having about Marvel. They really don't know where to go. They're lost. They're running around in circles without any concrete direction, and we're seeing a lot of that across the board, Ben. And it's really a shame. And yeah, I personally think it has a little bit to do with the modern concept of not leaning on meritocracy as you should.
Right.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there we go.
Well, I mean, like, you're talking about the Marvel movie?
No,
right?
You said right. Or we've moved on.
Oh, okay, fine. I took my hand off the piece.
You did.
That's fine.
You did.
It's fine.
Yeah, but no, I mean, because it is right. It's a problem, and when I'm not even getting into any of the identity politic conversation, I'm just talking in general. There's a problem with the fact that they don't know where to go. They're quite aimless. D&D right now is a perfect example, and the simple fact of the matter is, I think I agree with you that they need to bite that bullet and just come out with something radically different. Keep the 5th edition line. Don't stop selling it, because it's a great introduction to tabletop role playing, I think. Keep that, and then add something else that is radically different. Leaning more toward the Fate core introduction, which I wouldn't play Fate to save my if it would save my life, but Cypher and Cortex certainly evolved it into a proper thing, right?
One thing that's always, because I've taken a deep dive into the development cycles between like Wizards of the Coast and Paizo, and one thing that I find shockingly different between the two is that Wizards has always traditionally relied heavily on splat books, whereas I mean Paizo does splat books, but they do such a robust supplement development for like adventures.
They do it better.
Far
Yeah,
better.
it is better. You're right.
Far.
Well, they
And
are
you
a
can play.
publisher.
Yeah, but like they produce so many fully fleshed out adventures that you can go from like 1 to 20 on.
Mhm.
Like you can still play Pathfinder First Edition, and if you come to it new, there's like 25 fully or 20, somewhere between 20 and 25 fully fleshed out adventure modes. Like you could play a lifetime.
Oh, you
And-
could easily.
and-
What was that one
Yeah.
called? Path of the Worm, I think it was called.
Oh,
Something.
Kingmaker's here. I'm running Skull and Shackles right now.
Oh,
Wrath
yeah,
of the
no,
Right.
they're really good. Yeah.
Jade Regent.
Oh, yeah,
There's
that's
so
a good
many
one.
good
Yeah.
ones.
And you know what it's
but-
reminiscent of?
What?
Old D&D.
It really is. No, you're absolutely correct. Right.
Yeah.
Now, what is the classic, like, when you think of classic D&D adventures that they have published recently? I don't know. Ravenloft is the best thing I can think of.
Yeah, but
Maybe,
that's not new, is it?
Huh?
That's not new,
No, that's
though.
well, no, it's not new. They just republish it for like each like
Yeah.
version, right? So it's like I can't think of a quote unquote classic one that they've released recently within the newest edition. I'm
Well-
sure there is one that I'm being unfair, but like they don't have anywhere near the robust repertoire of adventures that Paizo's developed
No,
for both
and-
first edition and second edition, right?
No, and the reason why we ran through the Dragon one here not too long, I can't even remember the name of it. But the reason is this: Paizo would put out supplementary books, rule books separately, and the game book was the game book. It was a module, right? What D&D has been doing is they're trying to combine the two, right? They're trying to take their supplementary information, new classes, new stuff, and squeeze it into a module. Is what they're doing, and
Terrible
it's,
idea.
it's just not working. They're horrible, right? I mean, I have sitting right in front of me. How many books I got here? Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 books, and that's the only 5th edition books I have is those 7 books. Whereas the 3rd edition stuff, or even 4th edition, I can't even count, dude.
Yeah, tons.
Yeah, just
And-
ridiculous amounts.
but-
Because it's just crap, dude.
Right. And the problem is that you then make it harder on your development team because it is so much easier to have a mechanics team and a like story team, right? An adventure team. And sometimes they'll need to work together, kind of understand, where the mechanics going or where things changing. But having a group focused on developing mechanics and then having a group focused on developing adventures makes things easier from a developed life cycle perspective, right? It just works better. And
Yeah.
so, I think Wizards of the Coast really hurts themselves because, and this is more them trying to do things in a modern way, and it just doesn't work. And it's not getting them the sales that they need.
No,
Right,
and especially
so-
when the people have already showed you decades ago of how to do it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, I'm looking at this picture here. They're so heavily wanting to push, non-white characters to play, and it's like, okay, fine. When has that never been a thing? Huh? I mean, people have been playing, female character, black character, Asian characters, elves, dwarves, orcs, whatever, from the beginning, dude. I
Yeah.
mean, even when we were playing, remember that black dude I had, that African dude that was riding on the frickin' rhino, the war rhino? I had the
Yeah.
idea first, by the way, Marvel. Where's my goddamn check? Anyway, I mean, we see this a lot these days. People, well, this, the first that. No, it's not. No, it's not. People have been doing this forever, dude. And and the thing is, if you put this beautiful art of this black warrior in here, no one's going to think anything other than, oh, that's awesome. But they have this dumb thing in their head that something they think is happening when it's really not happening.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I think the real crux of the problem is that they're overly focused on trying to get credit and emoting the effort, when really
virtue signaling is the word you're looking for there, buddy.
right. And I think that's the problem. That if you just do it without trying to earn credit for it in some weird fashion with
Mhm.
an analogous group, then it goes across and nobody complains, and it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Right. It's the virtual signaling. It's the saying look, we did a thing, and everyone's like, and it's one of those catch-22s where now you've lost credit both with the people you're trying to get credit from. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, why'd you have to say anything? And then you lose credit to the other people who are like, oh, everyone's upset, right?
Yeah.
But that's common, right? That just goes back to the problem you're talking with them switching to species. damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? You made a mistake, right? So
Yeah, just leave it be and do something different. But anyway, I know we're boring the hell out of these guys.
I was about to say, like Thundera and Grimlock, I think are asleep at this point.
Oh,
So.
they probably
You
are.
guys are such nerds.
We are. We know. But we're right though.
No,
We're right though.
it's
I
not.
do
It's
need to
not
go to
boring
work.
to me.
What was that, Grimlock?
It's not boring. It's just it's something I don't know anything on, so I'm not. But so much I'm gonna add to that. But
yeah, and there was
like
a lot of
said,
things we mentioned that you wouldn't know unless you were deep
But-
into the hobby. Yeah,
It just sounds like we
Yeah,
need to
but
get
I'm-
Grimlock and Thundera into a campaign.
we
Is
do.
all
That's
I
what it
it's-
sounds like. Yeah.
But as to me, it's like I said, and I think you also made the argument. Just get rid of the terminology because you seem to be intent on making a mountain out of a molehill.
hmm
And like Ben said, all you're doing is just finding new ways to piss people off.
Yep.
It's
They're good at
unnecessary and it's not serving you any good. It's not, and it isn't drawing anybody to play D&D.
That's true.
That's not going to sell people on. Oh,
No.
so now we eliminated race from D&D. Like, okay,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, no, it's dumb. It was done. It was done decades ago, dude. Literally. Yeah, what took you so long? But I do apologize for saying they or them because Kanye's going to be mad at me. Anyway, let's move on to our last thing here. Just
Kanye.
a little bit of. Oh, he's such a moron, dude. But there are a lot of morons in the world. They make us entertained. Last little bit of fun. Oh my God. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, sir.
Rumor: James Gunn, rather, to adapt classic DC story Kingdom Come as crisis-level cinematic event.
Oh my God, dude. Kingdom Come is so badass. And it's not just because I'm an absolutely adore Alex Ross. But Ben.
And well, so I think I might have missed it. Did you guys cover James Gunn becoming the czar of
I did
content?
cover it. Yeah, I did cover
Okay.
it.
Oh, yeah.
What were your impressions on that decision?
It's an interesting one. I mean, James Gunn gets how to do filmmaking. He does. I don't know that he has a broad enough a broad enough knowledge base to be the DC dude. And I think that's why they put the other business guy in there, the Saffron guy in there, right?
Right, and I think that's the right pick, right? So like what I like about James Gunn is that he's got the kind of crazy filmmaker, but it's a lot more in control than Taiki. Taiki is a little too off the rails at times, and so
he needs a controlling figure. Yeah.
he needs a controlling factor. I always talk about like art needs boundaries to be effective, right? And we sometimes see when these directors are kind of let off the leash a little bit and they go kind of hog wild, things just get weird, right?
Yeah. Well,
and-
you let your conservative people manage the shit and let your creative liberal people create. I mean, that's
Right.
That's the best system.
And so I think James Gunn, he is well tempered in that degree already that he can make the fun artsy film, but also kind of keep it from going completely off the rails. And we saw that with Guardians of the Galaxies, and we saw that with number 2. I think number 2 was really good. And I think his take on Suicide Squad was really well done. And I really enjoyed the, much better. It was very much in line. It was so annoying to watch the Suicide Squad where they were trying to mimic his style with music, but they didn't understand it, and it just was terrible.
It was weird, dude. It was so weird.
So weird.
But
Like,
and another
mismatched
thing with
music and
James
stuff there.
is we have to remember he's earned his stripes. He spent how long with Trauma? I mean, that dude has been in the trenches, the B movie trenches for a long time.
Totally.
He's earned his stripes, dude. So it is an interesting choice, though. It's not the first one that popped in my head, but I'm willing to see what he does with it, though. And if this right here, freaking Kingdom Come, dude, this is one of the best standalone comics in history.
Right.
This that guy right there in the middle. What they do with the next Superman movie will decide the fate of DC movies. It's that important. They have to kill it. They have to. If they don't, might as well just write it off because it's not going to get any better.
from what I read, James Gunn is another one of those guys who's real big into Henry, right? He was one of the other big people pushing for Henry to come back, right?
Yeah.
And so
It's
you know,
the right choice.
him and The Rock are the two people basically responsible for bringing Henry back.
Oddly, not Henry too much. He was just like, if it happens, great. If
Well-
not, whatever.
Well, he's moved on to other he's not like without, right? Like there's so many people knocking on his door, right? And
That's
so
true. That's true.
he wasn't worried about it per se,
Yeah.
right?
That's true.
And so bringing him back, with assurances that it's going to be different, right? And it's not going to be super emo Superman.
No, he
was
won't do
annoyed
that.
the
We know
crap
we
out of me.
won't do that. If you let him, he'll put in his lewdness a bit. But once again, that's just where he's coming from. But they'll have to adjust this. We won't have the older Superman, the older situation. They'll have to adjust it. But if they do it right, this will be really cool. And but here's because I really got to go. I'm already late. But here's the thing I would ask the room before we sign off here today. In my opinion, you can't do Kingdom Come right without Captain Marvel, Billy Batson being the crux of what happens. You can't. It's important. What a gut churner they did with him in this story. And do they have the balls to put Levy's character in that position though?
No.
Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you guys that because you're more familiar with Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come is supposed to be like I know it's a standalone story.
It is. Yeah.
But if you're gonna do that story, is that a jumping off point or is that an end game point?
Well, you could do both. You could stretch it out. You could easily, put this is an overarching thing that's happening behind the scenes. You certainly could, like you did with Thanos. You could do that, but I just don't think it's going to work unless you're willing to pull that trigger on Levy Shazam. I really don't, because it's essential. Because I think everyone here has read Kingdom Come, and we all know the absolute. Spoilers, twisting of Billy Batson. My God, dude, it was, you weren't expecting that shit, dude.
Right, it's tough, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I say I don't think, because we're talking about the cinema market, which isn't the same as the comic.
That's true. Right? Well, that's true. Yeah.
And so if they do it, I think it'll be heavily wanted. Right, heavily wanted.
Yeah, so. And Roger makes the best point for the day, and we'll end on this. We're all going to hold our nerdgasm on this one for sure. Sadly.
Yep. It's a dangerous one, right? Because there is
happy though.
There's things you can do in comic books you cannot do on the screen. Various different things. Sometimes it's brutality. You could do it on the screen, but they're not going to. Sometimes it's just the way it's presented. It just doesn't work in cinema. Kingdom Come would be a fantastic story, but I would almost want it to be a standalone story. I wouldn't want it to be part of a broader universe. And you could do that. There's plenty of great
like one-off.
Yeah, plenty of great standalone stories in DC and in Marvel, but in DC especially with Superman, that you could just do, and they would just be what they are, and just let them be what they are, and it would be fantastic. This is one of them.
And
there's a few others as
Galaxies is kind of almost its own little universe outside of the MCU anyway, isn't it?
Yes.
In a way. So, I don't know.
I've advocated that for a long time, that's what they should do with the DC EU, whatever they call it now, because the making the big continuous universe thing, one, I think that's we kind of busted our nut on that with the MCU. I think it's time to do something else, and that something else should be to have basically little episodic universes where they take great stories from here, there, or wherever, from any age they want, and it's just its own little world.
Like comics used to be.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really need to go. But that was fun conversations today. We talked about some interesting things, and Frank, Frank is Frank. But
Frank is
nevertheless,
Frank.
thank you all for coming and listening. Keep in mind that in 2 days I do have Bugbear's Basement. We are continuing our new campaign with Umbral using the Cortex system from Margaret Weiss. I love it. And of course, we'll have Drone Accord the Ultimate Edition this week. I'm not sure what we're doing. I think we have a creator, another author that we're going to be envisioning their characters of the book. But nevertheless, thank you all very much, and we'll see you back here in 1 week for Night Owls. Ben, you got any closing comments, sir?
Really looking forward to the 2 new Marvel movies coming out, the Ant-Man one and the what was the other one? They look really good. So,
Ant-Man looks good. Yeah,
yeah,
that's true. Grimlock?
I got none. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. That was very nice. He said that to
Lovely.
me.
Yep.
Thundero.
Just for you. It was just for you, Chester.
for
I have one of my favorite ones, and it kind of goes. I didn't really get a chance to talk about it too much. It kind of goes in with my boy Jason David Frank killing himself,
Mm.
and it's a very simple one. It's one sentence: hating yourself is a low fate, a life lived dead.
Namaste. Later, everyone.